Good morning, everyone. It's 8:30 and the hour has arrived for us to begin our Transportation Commission meeting. My name is Kent Millington. I'm woefully inadequate here, but I'm stepping in for Jeff Holt, our chairman, who is out of the state today on business. I'm Kent Millington. I'm the vice chair of the commission. It's good to have all of you here. I think what we will do is move through the agenda. To begin, the first thing we want to do is to have an approval of the minutes. Then we will do some introductions of the people who are here officially, and then any local politicians or commissioners or mayors or that kind of office that you may hold. So I'll entertain a motion on the minutes.
To approve the minutes as written.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you very much. Let's do some introductions here then. We'll start over here on my left with our newest commissioner. Please.
Nagi Zanadi, Commission Region 4.
Dan McConkey, Commissioner at Large.
Kent Millington, I represent Region 3.
My name's Wayne Bartle. I'm a native of Davis County. I currently live in Cache Valley, represent Region 1, which is Fox Elder, Cache, Rich, Morgan, Weaver, and Davis counties.
I'm Eddie Cox, I'm from Fairview, and I'm a commissioner at large.
We have Megan Holbrook, who's joining us by phone. Megan?
Good morning. I represent Region 2, which is Salt Lake, Summit, and Tooele County.
Thank you very much. Now, Carlos, would you introduce those from, well, I should mention Leanna Beglin here, who is the commission secretary. Carlos, please, those from UDOT.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Carlos Braceras, I'm the Executive Director of UDOT, and I'll start over on my left. We have Shane Marshall, newly appointed Deputy Director of the department. And let's see here. Vic Saunders is the man behind the screen there, going to help us with our technology. Our Region 1 Director, Chris Peterson, is sitting right up front. And just a little off his shoulder, Rex Harris from his program construction. Program manager, thank you, Rex. I'm sorry. I should probably let them do self-introductions. Ahmed Jaber, our operations director for the department. Corey Pope, planning and programming. Bill Lawrence, sitting behind him. Bill Lawrence is our programming director, and then our STIP coordinator, Bob Pelly, sitting right behind him. Dave Schwartz, sitting behind Ahmed, is our Region 2 program manager. I see Lyle McMillan, our Director of Right-of-Way. Terry Newell, our Region 3 Director.
Matt Swap.
Where's Matt? Oh, sorry, Matt. Matt Schwab is here. He's our he works in our aeronautics section, and we have our aeronautics improvement plan on the program today. I see Chad Shepik from our Director of Motor Carriers. Linda Hull is our policy director of the department. Did I miss anyone? Who? Where's John Gleason.
That little short guy.
A little short guy back there. John Gleason works in our communications department. So, Mr. Chairman, I believe that's our contingent here from the department today.
Thank you very much. Now, do we have any of our local elected officials that are here that just want to be acknowledged? Please give us your names. We'll have public comments in just a moment, but
Don't know if I want to be acknowledged. Randy Farmer from Vineyard Town.
good to have you here.
Mayor.
I don't need to be acknowledged either. Jen Sawgrass, River County Commission.
Nice of you to be here. Are there others? We expect then that the rest of you are here for various agenda items. And when we come to those agenda items and you wish to speak out, or during our public comments time, you're certainly welcome to do so. I believe we'll move then to item number 2 on our agenda, which is we will have a local area presentation about Region 1. Chris?
Commissioner, thank you. Members of the commission, thanks. I want to welcome you to Ogden and to Weaver County today. Very gracious of the Weaver County Commission to allow us to utilize their chambers. It's a beautiful building and a beautiful place, and downtown Ogden is a beautiful time as they prepare for celebration beginning, I believe, today and tomorrow. So
I
We wanna
think
welcome you
the
all.
Miss Utah Rodeo was starting over at the hotel this morning, just as we were.
We're in the wrong place.
I'm glad that you guys broke away and were able to make it over here. So if we need to finish early, you control that, Commissioner. So you can make that. Want to welcome you to Region 1 as well. This is, we are lucky enough to have the commission visit us twice this year, and this is one of those visits. We welcome you here. Vic, we've gone back to yellow. We're having issues with the projector. We fixed it once. I wiggled some connections and it went white. We'll just go yellow, I think. Maybe we'll go play with it in a minute, see if we can get something better. I prefer to look at that as, up here in Region 1, we look at everything through rose-colored glasses. Anyway, so talked about a few of the projects that we have going on. I'll glance over to make sure I'm talking about the right slide, since I didn't bring a cheat sheet. So if you see me glance over there, I apologize. One of the projects that we feel has been very successful this year is our ID4 Bridge Deck Rehabilitation Project. That was a project where in a matter of 10 days, we closed I-84, we removed the concrete deck on the bridge, and we replaced it. That was, the contractor bid 10 days. They completed that in 6. We were able to open that bridge back up to the public and basically give them a brand new bridge in a matter of 6 days. We're really excited about that project, and it went well. A lot of public involvement to help the trucking industry, because that's a major artery, understand what we were doing, and in reality, very few public complaints were received on that project. So another project that we are pretty happy about right now is our 10th West project in Logan, SR 252 Phase 2. We've come through some significant hurdles this spring regarding wetlands, regarding Corps of Engineer permits, and some right-of-way negotiations. We're excited the project is on schedule. We expect we're going to complete this, I'd say fall, maybe winter, but it's December. I don't know which that is in everybody's vocabulary, but we're really excited, and that's moving forward, and hopefully we'll be able to get you on that project here before it completes later this summer, later this fall. Yesterday on our tour, we visited the SR 193 extension. That project is also doing very well. I think we were all impressed with some of the magnitude of the work that's going on there yesterday, and I still wish one of you would have picked up one of those retaining block walls.
Commissioner
Or
Miller,
did you go lift over and put one in?
I didn't put one in. I tried to pick it up. Yeah.
Anyway, very great projects going along. The contractor that we have working out there, we've got a great working relationship with them. They're doing great things for us. We talked about some of the cost savings, the innovations that we've been able to come up with utilizing the CMGC process on that project. So we're hoping, I think that was the conversation we had yesterday, we're hoping to be done late this summer. It really depends on how quickly those walls settle, and we're able to build a bridge or later this winter. For sure we'll be done next summer, just depending on how the settlement works on those big 30-foot tall retaining walls. We are very close to putting out to bid, if it hasn't gone out to bid in the last couple days, our 1100 South DDI project. We drove this last year with the commission when we were on tour. This is the Brigham City gateway to Cache Valley, if you want to call it that, off I-15. That project is progressing very well. We worked through a lot of mitigation issues and risk issues associated with that. We'll be advertising that and under construction later this fall, this winter, be able to complete that project next winter. Our Riverdale Road project is also, this is another CMGC project that we have. Our last phase of Riverdale Road goes from ID4 to Roy. That project likewise is progressing well. We made a commitment to the community that we wouldn't do much work this year until after the holiday season, until big shopping season in the area. Our contractor will ramp up significantly their efforts starting January 1, work through the summer, be able to complete that project again prior to the shopping season, similar to some of the results that we've had in working with the community on that previous project. So next time we have a commission tour, we'll probably have a good opportunity to go visit that project. We drove these two interchange improvement projects that we're working on yesterday as part of the tour. About $8-9 million are programmed to improve the function of these interchanges. That project, well, both projects, we'll advertise them separately, but those will happen also next year. We also drove the US 89 Antelope Extension Project yesterday, or we tried to until we hit the dead end. That project was funded in this spring in the April Commission Workshop. We're working feverishly on the design and the right-of-way acquisition. We bought all the right-of-way previously, utilizing the Corridor Preservation Fund, with the exception of a few small properties. So we're working feverishly on the design so that we can build that also next summer. That's a nearly $15 million project. We also drove this project yesterday. This is is this the Midland Drive slide?
This is Hinckley to...
Okay, so this is the Midland Drive slide. The commission funded this project again in April. This is a widening from a 3-lane to a 5-lane section. This project involves significant right-of-way, utilities, and a lot of work associated with widening in an urban area. I don't remember if it was Commissioner Millington that said, "How are you going to do this?" or was it Commissioner Barlow? Somebody from the back of the bus said, "How are you going to do this?" We have some great engineers who figure that out for us, but we'll also construct this project next summer. A choke point project that was funded quite a while ago has finally come up to its funded year. This is Cornea Drive. We drove through here. We didn't talk significantly about this project between SR 193, that's the road that goes east-west just south of Hill Air Force Base. From there, that goes down the hill towards to I-84. We're building an auxiliary lane to relieve congestion, particularly in the PM peak that occurs when the Hill Air Force Base, when their shifts end in the evening. So this project also will be built next year. We're considering whether or not we should join this project with the Antelope Drive project, or if we should leave them independent. And if we combine those, we'll come to you and ask you to combine those. If we decide that it's better to leave those separate, you'll just see those happen the way it's currently funded. A project that is a project of significant magnitude for the region, and I think for regional traffic, is our Express Lane project. $118 million project to add express lanes on I-15 in Davis County in the southern end, between where they terminate right now at Beck Street, and they'll go up to Farmington. This project is under, right now, it's going to be design build, so I can't say it's in design yet, because we haven't hired the design builder. So we're putting together the RFP to hire the contractor at this point. That will go out on the street August or September this year. We'll have a contractor on board the first of the year, and we'll see a whole lot of action in that area starting next spring, next March, next April. I'll give a further update on this project on the West Davis Corridor study in a little while, but this project is, the study is moving forward, and it's a $12 million study to evaluate a corridor out on the west side of Davis County and potentially Weber County. We'll talk a little bit more about that in a further agenda item. And just as a quick note, our Orange Book, our Purple Book program, our preventative maintenance, and our rehabilitation maintenance program, these are the funding levels. These are the amounts of projects, the dollar amount of projects that we're doing in the region this summer. What I don't know, and I was going to get this morning, and I'm not going to put Rex on the spot, is the quantity of projects, but I think we're around 20 projects that would sum into those totals right there. We drove several of these projects yesterday on our tour. that's the region update. Is there any questions that you might have?
Questions or comments for the Region 1? We did have, as Chris mentioned, we did have a pretty extensive tour around the area yesterday.
Somewhat eventful too.
Some very eventful. Great start, great finish. But we were able to see many of these projects. So we had a lot of those questions answered yesterday while we were right there on the projects. Any other comments or questions for Chris?
I might just add that we drove essentially the full length of the planned West Davis corridor. Those parts of it that are accessible, and we reviewed with Chris the other parts. I suspect that we may get some comment today from folks who are concerned about that project.
One of the nice things, Chris, was we was out and about while the traffic was coming up towards the end of the day, and the choke points were really easy to see.
It was, in fact, my staff said, Chris, you couldn't have done that better. Man, you did those at the perfect time. So, thank you. Okay, thank you, Commissioner.
Thank you very much. My apologies for not making an earlier introduction. We want to certainly recognize James Christian from the Federal Highways, who is a very valued partner to UDOT and the Commission, and works with us very effectively, always attends our meetings. We appreciate you. James was with us yesterday on the tour, and we're always glad to have you here, James. We'll have a report from you later in our meeting. Now's the time for public comments. If any of you, including the elected officials, want to address the commission, now is the time to do that. For those who may be here to discuss the West Davis corridor, that's an agenda item coming up 2 or 3 items later. You're welcome to make your comments now or wait until we're actually into that topic if you want to make comments at that point in time. So we open our meeting for public comments. Those who wish to address the commission may do so. Boy, we've covered everybody's topic today. That's great. Very unusual. But thank you for your attendance. We'll move then beyond the public comments to an annual report that comes from UTA. And we have here with us today Bob Hunter and Jerry Benson, who will give us the report. And I think, Bob, you're on first to get us started. We look forward to the report. Thank you for being here.
Well, first, as a Northern Utah resident for my whole life, we appreciate you coming to Northern Utah. We love it here, and we appreciate you taking the time to come up here for your meeting. You know, it's often said that it's 300 miles from Salt Lake to Ogden, and it's 30 miles from Ogden to Salt Lake, so we're glad you made that trek up here.
Even further from Logan.
That's right. What do they say about Logan, Commissioner?
Yeah, it's further.
Just
From Salt Lake to Logan, it is from Logan to Salt Lake.
Just as long as they don't consider Logan to be in Idaho.
Yes, some do.
So it's a real pleasure to be able to present our report. Before I start into our business, my traveling companion today is Ben Robbins. Ben, would you raise your hand? Ben is our newest intern at United Way, which is my full-time job, and he's traveling with me today to see what goes on in the community. And he's fresh back from Washington, having been an intern with Senator Orrin Hatch, and he's a student, one of our brilliant students at Weber State University, and he'll be spending some time with us as an intern. Our chairman, Greg Hughes, Representative Greg Hughes, and our vice chair, Bishop H. David Burton, both really wanted to be here today. Both of them are taken away not in more important business, but in more urgent business, and so they're unable to be here. I am the chairman of the Stakeholder Relations Committee, member of the Executive Committee, and this is the area from which I'm appointed. I'm appointed by the 3 mayors of Box Elder County, 3 southern mayors of Box Elder County, and the mayors and commissioners of Weber County, and that's the That's my appointing authority. We appreciate the service that Commissioner Millington has served on as a liaison for your board, on our board. We think that partnership, that communication is just really important. I remember the commissioner used to ask an awful lot of questions, and they were helpful and helped keep everybody on their toes, and I imagine that the UDOT staff realizes that as well. And then Megan, hello Megan.
Good morning, Bob. How are you?
Megan is one of my favorite people in all of Utah, and I'm sorry I can't see her personally here today, but she served subsequent to Commissioner Millington and was a great member of our board, and now we have the pleasure of having Commissioner McConkey on our board. And again, we appreciate that liaison. We're partners. We look at this as a great partnership, and as we work together, we create even more progress. The Utah Transit Authority is proud of what we've accomplished, and I just want to read just a few items. We, in 2013, have opened 3 additional lines, completing a $2.5 billion program of 5 projects totaling 70 miles of rail transit. We've been increasing ridership through the operation of new service, expanded partnership with public and private institutions, improved customer service, in spite of sometimes what you read in the newspaper, and better integration of services. We have an increased emphasis on sustainability with the development of alternative fuel buses, both natural gas and electric. We've been participating actively in the economic development of our communities through transit-oriented development, which is really a big piece of what we're going to be doing in the future. We've been increasing safety through education, engineering, and enforcement. And we've been increasing efforts to maintain equipment and infrastructure through a formal State of Good Repair program. I will finish my comments and introduce Jerry Benson. Academically, he's known as Dr. Jerry Benson. He comes to the Utah Transit Authority with a lot of credentials and a lot of experience, and he's been a pleasure to work with. He is the Chief Operating Officer of Utah Transit Authority. So I'll turn the time over to him now, and again, thank you for the opportunity of giving this annual report. We distributed, I think, some fast facts.
Yes.
That's everything you may want to know about UTA right there in your pocket. And as I thought of that, I thought of Carlos. We are so appreciative. I think I can say, Jerry, that every single person who was associated with UTA was absolutely ecstatic when Carlos's name was announced. And so that's how we feel about him, and it will do nothing but even enhance our relationship. Thank you.
Thank you, Bob, commissioners, UDOT staff. We welcome the opportunity to be here today and give you an update about the Utah Transit Authority. And I think we'll just go without the video today to keep things simple.
It actually works.
Oh, it does work?
Yeah.
Oh, well, all right, then I'm high-tech after all. I will share with you some of the highlights of the last year since we were here giving you a report in 2012, and also just a very brief picture of some of the things that are next on the horizon for us. I'll introduce my remarks by just saying nothing that UTA does can we do alone. Everything we do, whether it's a bus stop on the side of a street or a major capital project, we do in partnership with local communities, with the state, and with UDOT. And it's the excellent partnership that we have that has allowed us to be so successful and in partnering with UDOT. So we appreciate the opportunity to be here, and we especially appreciate the ongoing collaboration that we have with UDOT. And I'd like to add to Bob, congratulations to Carlos and to Shane. We appreciate having the top flight professionals on the UDOT side that we can work with. So let me start with safety, and safety has been a key issue for us for forever, but we've really done some things to elevate the profile of safety in our organization and with the public. We established a new safety department at the end of 2011, so we had pretty much all of 2012 with the new safety arrangement. We have about doubled the number of dedicated full-time safety administrators that support our system. We have worked very closely with UDOT and the State Safety Oversight Program that UDOT manages to improve how we manage new projects, and have instituted what we call a hold point system, where at each critical milestone of a project, we hold, certify all the safety-related items at that stage before we move on. We've also formalized the certification of new equipment and facilities coming into our system. So you might think that getting a new bus is no big deal, but often the new technology that comes with a new piece of equipment has a number of safety concerns. So we've instituted formal safety certification of equipment and facilities in our organization. There are a number of other things listed on the slide here, but I'll highlight just a couple more. One is that we recently achieved certification to the OHSAS 18001 safety standard. So this is an internationally recognized approach to managing safety that starts with hazard analysis and ends with corrective action and documentation and record keeping. And we thought that adding that standard to our portfolio of quality standards, the ISO 9001, and environmental standards, the ISO 14001, would be a good complement for us to better manage safety. A couple other things last year, Senate Bill 195 clarified that entering grade crossings when lights are flashing is illegal, and our Board of Trustees also established a distracted pedestrian ordinance to improve safety. Here's one of our brief safety messages we use for the public generally and as part of our Operation Lifesaver.
Remember, it only takes a second to be safe around trains. Start by obeying all traffic signals, signs, and crossing arms. And that goes for pedestrians and cyclists too. Even if you think you can cross the tracks in time, don't try. A few seconds you might save just isn't worth the risk. After the train passes, always look both ways. Another train could be coming from the opposite direction. It only takes a second to take a second look. For more safety tips, visit rideuta.com.
Thank you. Next topic I want to address is ridership. So ridership is what we are all about. Whether we're building projects or instituting new technology, it really goes to increasing the usability and convenience of the transit system and improving ridership. So 2012 was a new peak of ridership for us, about 42.8 million riders during the year. And that was about a 3% increase over the previous year. Part of making that ridership happen is the customer service that our employees provide. And so this is a video that we use for recruiting and kind of demonstrates the attitude that we hope our people have.
My goal is every day when I leave my house is I like to make sure that I'm doing the best that I can to make somebody else's day a little bit easier. I hate being late. My dad always told us I'd rather be 30 minutes early than 1 second late. Because when you walk in 1 second late, everybody looks at you. My name's Brendan, and I'm the bus operator for the Utah Transit Authority. I'm actually to the point now where I've been driving a bus long enough that I'd rather drive a bus than my own car. See you later, bud. Have a great day. If I couldn't interact with people working here, I would be bored all the time. I'll have the door for somebody and then I would spark a conversation with them as I'm walking in with them and they're like, you don't even know that person, why are you talking to them? Because that's my job, that's what I do every day. It's like second nature for me. So. But I also look at it too as if I can't have a little bit of fun while I'm at work, then maybe I shouldn't be working at the job that I'm at. If you have to take life so serious, guilty as charged. I love living. It's been by far the best job that I've ever had.
So if we just had another 1,000 people like Brandon, we'd have customer service handled. We completed a customer service training for all of our Salt Lake area bus operators last year, and we're now extending that out throughout the whole organization. It's something they get during their initial training, and it's something we hire for, but it's an area that we need to continue to emphasize. Also related to ridership are some innovative services we've been able to implement in partnership with other government entities. And as we've seen increasing demand for public transit service and the constraints of our existing funding resources, we've had to get really creative to find new ways to add service. And one example of that is the Park City Connect service that we instituted in late 2011. And so we're in our second year of operation with that. That's a partnership between UTA, Summit County, and Park City. And it operates on a break-even basis to UTA. So we don't have to pull in new transit resources, and that one actually operates out of the transit district. But between the passenger fares and contributions by the county and the city, we're able to make that a break-even to UTA. And after that success, and with the help of Commissioner Togmaster, who is here, we've been able to institute a ski service in Weber County. So this is a service to Snow Basin and Powder Mountain. It's a partnership between Weber County and the Convention and Visitors Bureau. We've been able to run ski service to those two resorts. We had our first year of operation this last winter with strong ridership, and I think we've seen it grow in popularity, and we're looking forward to an even better year next year. If you want to, will you play that last video?
People who live in the mountains, what do they love? The view, the local flavor, and sometimes a little sliding. People who commute in the mountains, however, do not love sliding. So try letting someone else drive. Fortunately, there's a local option with 8 tires. It comes with its own driver and seats 57 comfortably in high back seats. Go to rideuta.com and see where your personal driver can pick you up. The Park City SLC Connect. Check out your option.
So the next slide goes to some of our projects that Trustee Hunter mentioned. So in 2013, we will complete the 2015 program, which we reported to you on every year for the last several years. This was a package of 5 rail projects totaling at the beginning about $2.8 billion. We're going to finish a little under $2.5 billion. And most of you were here for the whole story, but back in 2005, the Long-Range Regional Transportation Plan had a series of projects that were designed to be completed by 2030. The elected officials and voters in the region decided that they didn't want to wait that long to have these projects completed. And so with a public referendum in 2006, we received approval and authorization to move forward to accelerate those projects and to generate through voter-approved sales tax the ability to bond and build all those projects by 2015. So our schedule was to complete all 5 by 2015. We were able to institute a financing plan in the Transit Development Program to have them all done by 2014, and through great project management and a good partnership with our contractors and favorable materials rates and some other things, we were able to get them all done this year. So the airport line opened in April. We'll be opening the Draper extension of tracks in August, and that will complete the Frontline's 2015 program. In addition to that, we'll be opening our Sugar House streetcar in December of this year. So we have 3 openings in 2013. We had 1 last year with the Frontliner South opening in 2012. We had 2 openings in 2011. So there's a major milestone for us this year, and for me as the Chief Operating Officer, I'm relieved to not be going through a major reconfiguration of our service. Our focus now is making this network really work. But it's worth pointing out that the Frontline's 2015 program came at a very important time for the state of Utah. We started this program in 2007, the recession hit 2008, and we were able to be a positive contributor to the economy, contributing about 23,000 jobs over the course of the project, and then about 350 permanent operating jobs associated with those new lines. If we look at what's happened in the area around the transit corridors, there has been about $7 billion of investment around transit corridors over the 5-year period of these projects. So we're happy that we were able to make a positive contribution at a time when the state really needed everything it could get. So my next topic is air quality and energy conservation. A big part of what transit does for our community is gives people choices that have less impact on the environment. We've been looking internally at our operations and our systems and our vehicles and facilities, and we've also been looking externally at how we help the community generally. What this slide shows is a couple things, how we have, through upgrading our fleet and through smarter utilization of our fleet, have been able to make a dramatic decrease in the air pollution that's caused by our own vehicles. And this year we will be putting in service 24 compressed natural gas vehicles to supplement our clean diesel hybrid electric fleet. In addition to reducing emissions, we've also had an aggressive campaign to improve fuel economy. That's everything from anti-idling to use of our most efficient vehicles most often, to reconfiguration and tuning of our engines and transmissions. So it's noteworthy that we've been able to achieve our highest fuel economy of the last several years at a time when our vehicles are constrained by more and more pollution control equipment. Our next slide goes to discretionary funding. So the UTA Board of Trustees has had for several years a target that it sets for the general manager and for the staff to identify and compete for and win competitive discretionary funding. So these are competitive grants. And we also have a target to go work with public municipalities and private agencies to get contributions to help offset the transit tax burden for completing projects. So in 2012, we were able to secure $260 million in discretionary grants and other contributions for our program. Trustee Hunter mentioned transit-oriented development, and we have really two strategies as it relates to TOD. One is to work with developers to make the most use out of UTA-owned property adjacent to stations. And what you see here is a list of projects where we have entered into arrangements or are entering into arrangements with developers. We've got 5 different developer partnerships that are working on UTA-owned TOD sites. But our second strategy is to work with cities and municipalities to develop site plans as part of their community master plan that maximize the transit resource as part of their community master planning. And we're advancing both of those strategies aggressively in the next few years. So my next slide talks a little bit more about sustainability. I mentioned our compressed natural gas buses. We put our first one into service on Tuesday. We have 10 more on the property that are going through final certification. We'll have 14 more delivered by the end of the year. Associated with that project is one of our priority capital projects, which is to build a downtown bus garage replacing the old central garage on 2nd South and 6th West. And we envision this new bus garage being a state-of-the-art compressed natural gas, potentially electric bus maintenance facility that takes advantage of all of the current knowledge on environmental design. So that's one of our priorities, and we're looking for funding and finalizing design work on that. We've been able to use solar as part of a supplement to our system. So if you take tracks to the airport, you usually won't get off on any of those stations, but if you have a chance to, you'll notice that they have solar power powering all the lights and the energy on the station, and there will be a little readout that tells you how those solar power units are operating. The electric bus project that we're in partnership with Utah State University and the University of Utah And Wave, the inductive power transfer technology company, is moving forward, and I had a chance to go see our bus at the manufacturer in California. So this is a new technology where instead of having a connection or a plug-in or a pantograph, the bus or whatever vehicle is able to pull over an inductive power transfer station and actually charge the bus with no physical connection at all across 8 or so inches of space. And this bus will operate as part of the University of Utah shuttle system, connecting tracks to the north end of campus and the engineering building and running back and forth between those two areas. It's a very significant proof of technology that if this project works, we will see inductive power probably take off as a major component to electric vehicles, electric buses. So we're excited about that. A couple other technology things to mention. We're really working to use technology to improve our customer experience, and a lot of that goes to real-time information, both at our station platforms, but also available remotely. So right now, if you have a text-based phone, you can text and get the next bus arrival information in our system. There are about a half a dozen publicly available apps that third parties have developed. So we make our real-time information available to the public, and app developers can create their own apps. So one is called, I hate to give a commercial to any of these because we don't endorse any of them, but one is called UTA Tracker, and it allows you to look at where your bus or train is in real time. We're working closely with Google. Google Transit is looking to include more of our information to allow people to navigate the system. We also launched Salt Lake City was one of 2 cities that launched the ISIS mobile wallet. So the ISIS mobile wallet can be used to pay your transit fare, and we've had a great partnership with ISIS where they have actually paid the fare. If you use a contactless mobile wallet, your fare is going to be covered by ISIS through the summer. Planning and development, these are areas that are very familiar to you, so I won't spend a lot of time, but we're very proud of the state's Unified Transportation Plan, as I'm sure all of you are. This is unusual across the country, but it gives us clarity and a direction for transportation projects that a lot of states don't have. But some of the projects that we're in the middle of right now include the Murray-Taylorsville BRT project, the Salt Lake streetcar study, mountain transportation feasibility study, and then there are other active studies, Southwest Salt Lake County, South Davis streetcar, and the Ogden Weaver State Transit study. Every one of these is a partnership with UDOT and local communities. So let me finally go to some of the things that we have on our plate this year and going forward. Obviously, we continue to have an expectation of increasing ridership. And we opened the Frontrunner South line at the beginning of this year, actually in December of last year. And we're working to improve that service and improve those connections. So you'll see in August, should warn you all, if you've got your timetable and you've got everything figured out of how to use our system, get new schedules for August, because we're making a lot of changes that make those transfers work better. Tracks to Frontrunner transfers and bus to rail transfers. We're working to advance the studies and projects that I mentioned. I mentioned we have 3 more rail openings this year. I've talked about our CNG buses and our TOD. But let me mention asset management, state of good repair. So this is something very familiar to the commission. We opened our first rail line in 1999. And so now we're reaching the midlife of our first generation rail cars. So we're starting an overhaul program for those Siemens SD100 and SD160 cars. And we've instituted a formal state of good repair and asset management program as we've wound down the 2015 program, we're able to keep some of the project management and systems engineering expertise and transition those folks over to an asset management state of good repair program. So I feel very good about where we're going there, and it's always a little bit of a sticker shock the first time you see your comprehensive asset plan and what it's going to take to keep our track, our stations, our vehicles and facilities up to par. But we're committed to do that, and we're starting the first couple of those state of good repair projects this year. Prepaid fare cards is something that we're excited about, and we'll be launching that this fall. It's a card that will be available in retail stores, just like a gift card. You can go to the rack, buy that, load transit fare money on that, and then use it on our contactless system and reload it at your convenience. And then I talked about real-time customer information, so we're expanding the availability of that data both on our system and to third-party developers. So let me close by saying again, we can't do anything by ourselves. We rely on partnership with UDOT, with the state, with local communities, and with counties to do everything that we do. We appreciate the opportunity to be here today with you.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Do we have any questions or comments, please?
Jerry, without the increased ridership you had in 2012, and of course efficiency of your department, are you making any money yet, or are you even breaking even?
Well, UTA is a government agency. We're a special district. We're created to provide transit as a public service with subsidy by the taxpayers of the state. So we're not a private business. We're not intended to make money. Just like UDOT, we're a tax-supported public service.
Other questions or comments?
Just a comment, according to the data here, it looked, I calculated of those, 47 million rides. It works out to be about $6.10 a ride based on your revenue. Is that about right?
No, our cost per ride, if you take the taxpayer portion of a trip across the whole system, so take the total cost of our operating expense minus passenger revenue divided by the total riders, it's about $3.70 right now. If you don't credit the passenger fare in that, it's about another $1, so about $4.70, $4.80.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
I would just like to comment, though, there has been a lot of publicity about many things with UTA. I'd like to commend them because when I've been back to Washington, UTA is looked at as one of the premier transit authorities in the United States, and I think sometimes we forget something like that, and we get involved in a lot of detail. So the overall vision of UTA along with UDOT, I think, ought to be commended as sister relationships because it is unique in the U.S., especially in transit and transportation.
Thank you, Megan. Jerry, thank you. Bob, we appreciate your being here today for this annual report. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
The next item on our agenda is the UDOT scoreboard. Ahmed, I guess you're leading out on that one.
Morning, Commission. It's a pleasure being with you here this morning to update you on the scoreboard. The first item will be the crashes, and then afterwards we'll talk about the construction program. Before I talk about the data here, I'd just like to share some bad news about fatalities and what have you. We had one of our folks, Carmen Nichols, who works for the Department of Human Resource Management. Her son was killed, I believe, July 3rd, riding a motorcycle. So the point is, again, we keep emphasizing when we're talking fatalities and crashes and what have you, it's somebody's, son, somebody's, parent. It really impacts families and, and workers and everybody else. So it's really important to keep that in mind and do what we can to achieve that zero fatalities goal. If you look at that first graph we're showing there, it shows the trend has been really good for us, for the department. We have a total of 69 crashes. Up to the end of June, we had 14 crashes last month and 14 crashes the month before. So the trend is really good compared to last year. We had 84 crashes and the average of 5 years, 97 crashes. If you compare the crashes of what we have up this calendar year compared to what we had last year, really the reduction is about 18%. And if you compare it to the 5-year average, it's about at 28% or so, 28, 29%. So the trend is still really good for us, and we're really happy to report that. Also, when you look at pedestrian fatalities, we've had 1 fatality last month in Salt Lake area, and the month before we didn't have any, we had 0 fatalities, so really happy to have that. By the way, when you look at bicycle fatalities and what have you, for the current year we had 2 fatalities. When you look at the total fatalities, first slide talked about the crashes. We had a total of 77 fatalities compared to 94 a year ago. And again, if you look at 5-year average, 108. And the percentage is still about the same, 29% reduction in fatalities compared to 5 years ago. So that's really good. When you look at the total 77 fatalities, basically most of those are really, there's 2 motorcycle related fatalities, 1 pedestrian, and the rest are vehicle related fatalities. Last number just shows the measurement compared to really the national average. They use that 100 million vehicle mile travel, and the goal is really 1% nationally. We hopefully will end up way less than that average. What I'd like to share with you before I open for questions is just for the current month in July what we have so far, and it's not on the slide. We had a total of 9 fatal crashes with 10 fatalities. 2 pedestrian-related fatalities, and the remaining 8, at least half of them are not wearing seat belts. So just think about it, at least half of those fatalities are not wearing seat belts. So wearing seat belts, helmets, are really important. They really do save lives. The July 4th holiday, and I'm looking at July 4th from Thursday till Sunday, we had a total of 7 fatalities, including 1 pedestrian. So most of these fatalities so far are related to the July 4th holiday weekend. Any questions or comments?
Alman, this is a great report. We're going obviously in the right direction. What's the major contributor? Why are we doing so good?
Carlos reminded me a while back that, one of the things, these numbers are really good, but also we need to look at its data. If we come up with some numbers that show the numbers goes above, last year, we shouldn't really be surprised. But when you look from a trend-wide perspective, I really think we're doing the right things. We monitor where the crashes occur, and we analyze those, we study them, and then we look, are there some safety elements we could do, whether it's a rumble strip, whether it's the cable barriers. We also, the highway patrol, they play a major role, like over the July 4th holiday. I believe they issued like 135 tickets for DUIs and other safety related, so they play a major role. Of course, the highways are designed a lot safer. The vehicles themselves are designed also safer, so there's a lot of components. But with the directive from our executive director, the regions, all 4 regions, and the directors and their staff, along with our traffic and safety division, they really put in a major emphasis on that. They analyze the data and see are there elements we could do, and then put the resources to really reduce those crashes. And and consequently the fatalities on that.
Mr. Chairman, if I could add, you know, we quickly look at the engineering as the answer to everything, and it really isn't. It's part of the answer, and we're making a major effort with all of our partners on education, getting into elementary schools, helping students understand how to walk to school, helping schools design the ways students should walk and bike to school. We're in high schools talking about texting and driving. We have, if you look at our parking lot at UDOT, we've got this wrecked car on a trailer that we take around to the high schools to help people appreciate the force involved in a crash. And as Ahmed mentioned, the enforcement side and the emergency response side, along with the auto manufacturers, it's hard to pin down any one area to say this is the reason why. And so that's why we're focusing on what we call the 4 E's.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions on this report? Ahmed, thank you. Now I guess we move to the construction.
This list of projects, it shows the projects we advertised for the last 2 months, update new. We had a total of 33 projects advertised last 2 months for a value of slightly over $73 million. When you look at the list, they're all in green with a few highlighted in yellow. It means all these projects have been advertised within the fiscal year as planned. Some of them may be, later than scheduled, and there may be good reason. Sometimes these delays are intentional, maybe because of utilities work or drainage or other things, and some it may just be delayed because of right-of-way issues or engineering issues. But the good news is all of these 33 projects have been advertised within the current fiscal year as planned. Next one. This year, if you look at chart there on the top left-hand side chart, it shows that we currently have 178 projects under construction for a total dollar value of slightly over $1.8 billion. It's a lot of projects, and if you look at the graph, went down and it's going back up. Of course, with the I-15 in Utah County, that had an impact on the numbers. The slide right next to it, to the right of the first graph, it shows the $1.86 billion. 1.6 billion out of that has already been paid on the current project to contractors, and the remainder is like $256 million. That's the balance left, or the work still will be done on the projects. The contractor payment per month, for June, it's almost $26 million. So when you're talking the program at $26 million, it's still a lot of dollars, which is equivalent to about $860,000 payment to contractors a day. It's a good amount. And when you're talking about paying the contractor, this is really helping the economy, creating jobs and what have you. So it's really still doing well in the program. The graph with the chart right to that talks about the percentage of time elapsed. Basically what it's telling us that 87% of the program or the projects are on schedule, the construction projects. So, and that number is really, really good for us, and that percentage is really based on the amount of money we pay the contractor, and that schedule is always lagging, because of the time we pay the contractor after they do the work. And the bottom graphic shows really the contract award versus engineer's estimate. It shows basically that based on the bids and what have you, the bids have been extremely good for us. We have about $8 million, under the contractor bid, under the engineer's estimate, and that means there are projects will come to the commission. So we can come to the commission and approve or recommend for approval some projects. So that money turns into projects to help the economy and then roads and the work on the roads. Any questions?
Questions for Ahmed on this construction report? Thank you, Ahmed.
Thank you. If I may take a minute here, today will be my last day to be in front of you. After some soul searching and a lot of thinking and what have you, I decided to make the tough decision of retiring. It's been really tough decisions. I think it's one of the toughest decisions I've made in my life. Lost a lot of sleep, agonized over it, but I think it is really the right decision for me at this point of my career. Really enjoyed working with the commission over the years. It's been a great experience, great learning for me. Also enjoyed working with the department staff, Carlos, John Nord, and Tom Moore, and Ms. Shane over the years, and the region director, and just about every employee in the department. I'm really proud and fortunate to have worked, or still working with the department over the years. It's a great experience, it's phenomenal. I pinch myself every once in a while, say, wow, this is a great organization, and I'm really proud to have worked with this organization. So it's a pleasure working with you over the years. It's time to move on.
Well, Ahmed, for me personally, when I came on the commission 8 years ago and you couldn't hardly even spell road, you have been very patient as a mentor and teacher to me in all kinds of aspects of road building and considerations and engineering and things like that. We're going to miss you. I'm going to miss you. You've been a great addition to UDOT and a tremendous employee, and so we will miss you. We wish you the very best in your future, whatever that might be. I'm sure you will not be idle. You will take your talents and apply them in many different ways, and we certainly appreciate having had you here at UDOT and to make a personal friendship. So we wish you the very best.
Thank you.
Hear, hear. Others? Are there others of the commission who wish?
Ahmed, you didn't say mother, may I? You know, we can vote to not let you go, but since you've been such a nice guy, keep that smile and we'll wish you the best.
Thank you, Commissioner. Sometimes it's best not to ask Mother, may I?
Megan?
I would just like to echo Kent's sentiments. Ahmed, you're great good humor, your great grace under pressure, and your strategic vision will be sorely missed, though I know it will be in other capabilities. And I will very much miss someone who does, except for Carlos, who doesn't share what a good roasted bean is.
Thank you, Commissioner Holbrook.
Other comments?
I too would echo what Commissioner Millington said, and I think you've represented the extreme competence that we find in UDOT, and so we'll miss you a lot, but I agree with Kent. Whatever endeavor you undertake, you'll do well, and hopefully we'll continue to have a friend there.
Thank you.
Ahmed, I too, thank you. I can't say it as well as these have, but you've just been terrific. As being one of the newest members, you kind of put your arm around me, and I appreciate it. Thank you so much for all you've done for UDOT and for the state of Utah.
Thank you, appreciate that.
Just a short period of time that I've known you, I've recognized your spirit. I've recognized your love for the directors and for the staff of the UDOT, and your passion for the work. And I love your friendship for just the 4 months that I've met you. Thank you.
Thank
Good
you,
luck.
Thank
Thank you.
Ahmed will miss you every month.
Thank you.
Thank you for devoted service to UDOT and to this state.
Thank you, appreciated the chance to work with you, Commissioner. Thank you very much.
Well, on that somber note, we'll try to continue. Our next item of business is an update on the West Davis corridor. Chris, we're back to you.
A couple things. One, I too am going to miss Ahmed, and Ron, he's not going to be able to present to us very much anymore, so if you would prefer, we could ask him to come up and give this update as well. I would be totally fine with that.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
I tried, I can't blame him for trying. Randy Jeffries, the project director, is out of town. He's on vacation with his family, and so he's asked me to pinch hit, and I will be doing so very inadequately as compared to the ability to what Randy could provide to you regarding the West Davis corridor update. So I will do my best. We had an opportunity to drive the corridor yesterday, at least as much as the corridor that we could get to in van, and we attempted to help identify the different locations where the corridor, UDOT's preferred alignment, is associated with other issues relative to the other alignments as well. If the commission is aware, in June, UDOT released our draft environmental impact statement regarding the project. It identified a preferred alignment, and subsequent to that in June, we had public informational open houses and public hearings relative to that, to be able to follow the process associated with identifying with the public issues that we have looked at, help them to understand the level of detail that we have gone into to identify through engineering and public input and public involvement the issues associated with this undertaking. And so I wanted to give you just a quick update on what we have done, where we stand today, and where we go in the future. I'll try and follow along with Vic, and we'll see. He's already moved to slide number 1. He's faster than me. And let's see if I tried to put it on my fancy dancy handy notebook here, and I have page 1, so I'll go off the slides again. Over the next, all these slides are going to be relative to the same time frame. So between 2009 and 2040 in that area, in that study area, we're going to see approximately a 63% increase in population. We will also see a 90% increase in housing in that same area, as well as nearly 50% increase in employment in the area. Those are significant increases in population, in employment, and just in that general area. It's going to grow. We drove that yesterday. We noticed that area is growing, is still growing. We saw a significant number of homes under construction, and that's not going to change. Associated with that growth, what we have modeled and what we anticipate is over 122% increase in travel delay. That's a hard number to understand, and so we put it into another number to help you understand. That's an increase of almost 400% of miles spent driving in congestion. Now, we did a little bit of driving yesterday in congestion. For all those residents out there, over the next few years, that's going to continue to increase. We're doing some things right now. We drove the State Route 193 project to try to address that east-west congestion regardless of those improvements. And these numbers anticipate that those east-west connections will be built and constructed. That this is not independent of those. It depends on those to be built out. And even if they are built out, we still expect this. That's the reason why we're talking about this project. It's to improve the regional mobility of the area and to enhance that, enhance that peak period mobility. Commissioner?
Yeah, can you go back one
Yes.
slide? You're saying that that congestion would be $250,000 a day of loss.
Of loss. Those numbers are calculated based on, it's approximately $18 an hour. So we take the average person, it could be higher for some, lower for some, but there's a value for the amount of time you sit in your car and you can't do what you want to do. Based on those calculations, those number of hours spent sitting in that congestion is how we calculate that out. That's a real, sometimes we say it's not a real cost to people, but it's a real cost to the person sitting in the car. It's not necessarily a real cost to the department or the taxpayer, but it is to that person sitting there, whether that's someone trying to get to a business meeting, whether it's a mom trying to get to a soccer game, or in the case of my wife, getting to 3 soccer games within 30 minutes. Those are real costs and real issues, and so that's what that number reflects. So the process, if you recall, we started the process back in January of 2010. We've moved through a significant portion of that, and as we've done so, if you'll notice, the graphic tries to portray this. we've narrowed our focus. We started with a big wide basket of ideas, and we're now narrowing our focus down to what we believe is the best and least damaging solution to the environment, to the public. So we started in August of 2010 with 46 different alternatives. Those were developed in conjunction with the public as we gathered their ideas, as we started via open houses. Subsequent to that, in November, we narrowed it down to 14. Those 14 projects or alternatives were the ones that had the relatively minimized impacts compared to the 46. So we looked at those 46, we said, wow, which ones have significant impacts either to the wetlands, to the environment, to the business community, to homes, to that, and we narrowed those 46 down to 14. Then in February 2011, we narrowed that to 3. So then we started really getting into issues associated with wetland delineations. We got a new model that helped us to get to these 3. From Wasatch Front, we rescreened some of the 46 that we had to make sure that we didn't eliminate based on the new model that we had, the traffic model that was updated. We refined these things based on public comments that we received, and we went through that process of engineering to say which ones are engineering feasible, which ones are not feasible via engineering analyses. So pretty significant level of effort that we went through to get down to the 3. And then that's when the real fun started. So in October of 2012, we got down to 2. Now I put 8 to the side because if you remember, there's really 2 alignments, but on the north end, there's those 2 alignments, they kind of fork off into 2 each, and then down on the south end, it forks. And so if you run the possible iterations of the different 2 with, can you go east or west with each of the 2 alignments, in reality there's 8. And so I put that there because there's really more than 2. So in May 16th, we released our draft EIS. Earlier I said it was June. That was the public hearings. That was the fun portion of it where we had a chance to meet with the public. Some of the public were excited. Some of the public, and you've heard those, were not excited. And so that's part of the process to help us identify and understand if we have missed something in our analysis, and we recognize that this process is not always pain-free. So that option that we recommended to the Federal Highway Administration and we released as our preferred option was B1. We drove as much of B1 yesterday as we could. It includes the Glover Lane as well as the 4100 West option. And just to be clear, it's 4100 West in Davis County, 5100 West when you get into Weber County. So when we drove it yesterday, we came in on 5100 West, but when you hit the county line, because of I think Commissioner McConaughey should have fixed this, but when you get to that county line, the addresses all change. And that took me a while, as being new to the area, to grasp that. And I still, as I drive it, I wonder why it changed. So why did we recommend option B1? We've listed those up here, and I'll read those off to you. Any questions you have regarding those if you want, but it serves more traffic per mile because of the location of that roadway and how it serves the traffic. It's less miles constructed, and because of it, it serves more traffic per mile than the other options. It has a better interchange, simpler interchange. We looked at that a little bit yesterday and talked about it. It's a much more user-friendly interchange than the interchange design at Shepherd Lane. It has lower impacts to 4F resources, which are protected under law. Also lower impacts to farmlands and APAs. And to be honest, I can't remember what an APA is right now.
Agricultural protection.
Thank you, because if you asked me, I wouldn't know. It also has lower impacts to residents, a lower cost, and it's most consistent with the city plans, which is one of the major goals that we've had to try and align with the cities. So why do this? This option, B1, decreases by almost 60% the miles traveled in congestion as compared to the do-nothing alternative. It has a significant impact. This does not solve every problem. Growth is still going to occur, congestion still will occur. And this, coupled with other options for transportation, is something that has to be considered, and we're considering that as part of the project. But that's something important to note. is it doesn't solve the entire problem as compared to what it is today. So we're asking the public to continue to be involved. We've had those 3 public hearings. This is a screenshot of our website. We are still asking for people's comments. The comment period is open until August 23rd. Federal law requires a 45-day comment period. We felt like that was not adequate for this project, so we extended it another 45 days to 90. We doubled that minimum required by law because we felt like there's significant public issues out there, and we want to make sure everyone has an opportunity to voice their opinion and express their concern or their agreement, whatever that may be. So we encourage anyone to go here. You can go to the UDOT webpage. Just do a search for West Davis. A link will pop up and you can go to this. We have all of our maps there, including an interactive map that has a GIS background, so you can drill into your home if it affects you or your business or a road that you may drive, and you can see exactly how that would impact those locations. So we encourage that of anyone, and we can help anybody who needs to get to that place. So something I wanted to point out is this has been a very long process and very involved process. Probably as much or more involved than any other EIS that we've done. No offense, Carlos. Carlos was involved in the original legacy. I think we've upped the ante a little bit here. We have met with city councils and city staff almost 100 times in 100 meetings, in different meetings. Those are 14 cities. And so we've met with them a significant number of times. If you run through those, we've met with resident working group meetings. Those could be an HOA, homeowners association, or an assemblage of representatives from homeowners associations into a regional group that will meet and work through issues with. But we've met almost 100 or 400 times with different folks in different meetings to help explain issues, learn from them, gather data, gather information from them, and to try and better understand and evaluate the process. Significant amount of time. Randy, in fact, probably knows more people out there than Commissioner McConkey. I think that's tough. But I think he's doing pretty good. Next. We've received to date almost 7,400 public comments. This is a couple days old, so we may be to 7,400 now. The number to note is since we released the draft in May, we've received almost 600 comments. During the large period of time where we were really refining all of our alternatives was when we received the majority of the comments, 4,500. But that gives you an idea of the amount of interest that the public has in the project and the amount of comments that we received from them. And I believe this is the last slide. Nope, let's find out. So this is just an overall overview of where we sit with the process and where we go from here. The 90-day comment period ends on August 23rd. We're still hoping to get as much comments we receive. You can put them online, you can send us an email, you can write us a letter. The public hearing is over, but we're still accepting comments. You can't give us a verbal comment anymore because we want to get it on the record. We need to have it written, whether that's via email or whether that's via letter. If you want to send that to us, we're happy to receive that from anyone. Tell them. From after August 23rd, we will continue to evaluate. We'll respond and evaluate every comment that we receive, and we will report on those in the final EIS. And we'll take those to make sure that we haven't made a mistake, that our recommendation remains sound. We'll continue to work with our stakeholder agencies to make sure that we can answer any questions that they have, and we have a project that they consider can move forward as well. And then we hope to have a ROD, or a record decision by the Federal Highway Administration in spring of 2014. Questions?
Chris, there's a group of residents that are affected by this that sponsored a petition to the governor, and they've been collecting signatures. Are those comments included in the totals that you have here, or is that a separate issue because it went directly to the governor?
That's a separate, because it went to the governor, but that will come to us. We work closely with the governor's office. Those comments all do come to us. I'm also copied on them, and so is Randy, so every time someone signs that petition, we get an email notifying us of the status of it. Yeah, I think you're on the list too. So we do get those come. We will respond to those, and we'll acknowledge those and evaluate them and report back based on their considerations. We are working with the group that is proposing another option. We're going to evaluate that option to the same level of detail we've evaluated other options that we've looked at, or alternatives is the term I've been using through the presentation. So we certainly are going to take every hard look at that. Randy's been meeting with that group on multiple occasions to be able to identify what that shared solution is so that we can fully evaluate it and vet it out relative to all the rest of the options that we...
So those folks can feel comfortable that at least their comments are being considered.
They absolutely are being considered, yes.
Chris, option B, Glover Lanes and 41 West. How much time will it buy before you get back there to do more work?
To do more work. We are required to look no further than 2040. We can't look, and our models really are not accurate enough to look, into 2070, 2080. Very difficult to predict what the traffic models and traffic situations will be. So we've looked at 2040, and we know that in 2040, exactly where we'll be there. We believe we have plenty of capacity to go beyond that. I don't know plenty. We have capacity to go beyond 2040, but I can't tell you how long beyond.
Other questions or comments for Chris?
Chris,
Thank-
one quick,
Please just
kind of a clarification, Chris. The delay slide you showed with 383 miles of, was that the delay? I can't remember the exact number. That delay is with every project in the long-range plan with the exception of West Davis.
That's correct.
Is that correct? So when you reduce the delay, that's just with the reduction
just
of this one project?
West Davis corridor does because of this project. So yes, that 122% increase in travel delay, Blake, the next slide is the one that talks about the mile span congestion. Those two slides are all based on what is currently planned to be completed, the widening of each of those east-west streets, SR 108 out in the area as well, plus the widening of I-15.
Everything in a current,
Everything current,
our 2040 long-range plan?
yes.
Thanks.
We'll try to get Commissioner Holbrook back on the line here. Okay, thank you. Any other questions or comments for Chris? Thank you, Chris. Now, at this point in time, we want to add one more meeting to the opportunity for people to make comment on the West Davis corridor. This is as a public meeting. Any comments that any of you may be here to make will be recorded, will become part of the public record, and will become part of the considerations that Chris and his team will be using. So any of you who are here present to make comment now on the West Davis corridor preferred alternative that has been put before the public, now is the time that we invite you to make your comments. If there are people who are here for that purpose, when you approach the microphone, please state your name and where you're from so that we can properly record that, and that becomes part of the record that will be considered. So we open the floor to any of you present here that may be here to comment on this issue. Is there anyone here that wishes to make a statement on the West Davis corridor?
Not all at once now.
Seeing none, then we'll move on to the next issue, and thank Chris for that report. We remind everyone that the public comment period is still open until August. We still have a full month to go, and written comments can be submitted and are welcomed and will certainly be considered, as Chris has outlined. Thank you very much. Chris. Our next item on the agenda is we go to Bill Lawrence now. Our first item for Bill is the consideration of approval of the guidelines for the State Infrastructure Bank.
Thank you, Commissioner Millington, Commissioners. If I may, I'd just like to personally thank Ahmed for being a good friend before he leaves.
Oh, he's out.
He's already left.
He announced he's out.
I wish him well. He's been, if I was to pick somebody in the department who has been a mentor to me, it's been Ahmed, and wish him well. Okay, before I get emotional. State Infrastructure Bank, this is under item number 7. Just a little background on this one. In 1997, the Utah legislature passed House Bill 7, Senate Bill 175, which created the State Infrastructure Bank. This was set up to allow local agencies and other transportation agencies to borrow money under contract at fairly low interest rates in order to do infrastructure projects. The bill gave authority to the Commission to prioritize and to approve projects utilizing this program. It also gave the Department the responsibility to administer the funds. SIB guidelines, or State Infrastructure Bank guidelines, were established to administer this program. This last legislative session, House Bill 377 was passed, which added an additional $20 million to this SIB. This action is to recommend an update to the guidelines to include that an interest rate be applied on the date of Commission approval. If you turn the page back, you'll see the title page to the State Infrastructure Bank guidelines. And then the second page back, you can see in red font, we have the recommendation to update these guidelines to include this statement, that the interest rate applied will consider the current rate on the date of Commission approval of the loan request. Any questions? Okay, so we would like to seek approval of the recommended change to the State Infrastructure Bank guidelines.
So moved.
We have a motion and a second to approve this update to the guidelines. Is there any further discussion? If not, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Unanimous. Thank you, Bill.
Next item is item number 8. There are 2 items under this, 2 requests for State Infrastructure Bank loans. We'll cover each one of these and seek approval on each one as an item. The first one is the Vineyard Town is requesting the Transportation Commission approve a loan from the State Infrastructure Bank for the purpose of relocating the existing Provo Industrial lead spur line owned by Union Pacific Railroad. In the back of their application, it's on page 7, it shows a diagram of the project description. What they're looking to do is the red line, the straight red line is the rail line that they're looking to remove. As part of the project, they're also including additional spurs of railroad that will allow the area to still function as a railroad. That includes the yellow line, the red line, and then there'll be an additional line coming off that red line that will make it able to go northbound as well. The repayment from this loan would be from revenue generated from the Vineyard RDA. Current average annual debt bond services already committed from Vineyard Town RDA revenue, include principal and interest, is just over 1.2 million. If you turn the page back, there's an amortization chart. This shows the amount of the loan that they're requesting, which is $16.15 million for a 10-year period. This would make the principal payment amount at just over $1.8 million a year. Now, in talking with Vineyard, we've done this in the past with other loans, allowed them to make an interest payment Vineyard is interested in doing an interest payment for the first year. This allows the RDA to keep up with the schedule of payments that they're looking to do. So we need to make note of that as well. They would be interested in doing an interest payment for the first year and then be back on schedule. There is available balance in the SIB due to Senate bill that passed, and so we'd like to seek approval of the SIB loan request from Vineyard Town.
Mr. Chairman, I want to make a motion that we accept this recommendation and pass on.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this application for an SIB loan from Vineyard Town. Is there any discussion from the commission?
Well, I think it's important that we consider the interest rate, the current interest rate, and we're proposing to do 3% here because that's what they based all of the projections on, their payback schedules and all of that. And plus, it ties into when they applied for the loan, so I think it's important that we stay at that 3%.
Yeah, I received an email this morning from State Treasurer's Office that said current rate as of today is 3.61. So this would be a lower rate based on when they applied.
Okay, thank you.
Is there any prepayment schedule if they apply? There's no penalty on that?
No penalty for prepayment. If they can aggressively pay back the loan, that's fine.
I believe we have the mayor here from Vineyard. Mayor, would you want to make any comments on this?
Well, we were just, when we started this, the interest rate is 1.78, and so we were just discussing the bill on how to accommodate the increment that comes from the RDA, and if we could get that interest just for 1 year and move the full payment into the next year, it would help us keep up with that increment coming in.
So make an interest-only payment for the first year.
And that's what Bill was indicating.
Right.
Interest only and 3%.
Yes.
Because we need the 1% above for the 10-year period, so.
Right.
Okay.
Louis Young's here, and we've been discussing it when we got here, and so we wanted to make sure that we could make sure we kept up with the scheduled payments after that. We had based all of our data on the 1.78 that was on the original.
Right.
And so we just wanted to make sure that everything was copacetic and go forward.
So the motion does include
It
the
does.
accommodation of the interest as was presented by Bill.
Yes.
Right.
Thank you, Mayor, for being here.
Mr. Chairman?
Please.
Thank you. I think it would be appropriate, this is the most significant loan that the state has, that the commission has considered, that we ask our former Region 3 director to maybe speak about, because there are significant benefits to this partnership that's being proposed, and I think for the record it would be good to be able to have Shane maybe talk us through that a little.
All right, Shane.
Okay, please.
Yeah, one of the bullet points in the guideline is the loan shouldn't exceed 25% without substantial benefits to the department. So I'm going to go over a few things. First of all, it removes a grade separation, or removes an at-grade crossing with the Vineyard Connector Road itself, with the spur line and the connector. The connector is going to be a 5-lane road in the future, so having one less at-grade crossing is a benefit to us. Further down the road on Geneva Road, there's a crossing at 4 South. It kind of angles across Geneva Road. That crossing would be removed, so we could potentially straighten out that little S curve through there. And then additionally, the line parallels Geneva Road, very close to Geneva Road. This would allow future widening without having to deal with the tracks. So I think those are 3 very significant things for the department, and because of that, I think it's a good thing for us.
How long a piece of track are we talking about removing there? It goes from about Center Street, Orem to about 1600 North, is that correct, Mayor?
That's correct.
So roughly 2 miles?
Yes.
Okay. And the additional spur line that will connect the railroad system, have you made the property acquisitions and made the accommodation to actually build that piece of it?
The mayor's asked me to speak on that. David Church, I'm the Vineyard Town attorney. The acquisitions have not been made by Vineyard Town yet. The landowner, the principal landowner there is Anderson Geneva. They are actively involved in the negotiations with the railroad to make this happen, and
So there's no reason to believe that they wouldn't provide the land?
it will happen.
Okay.
We're in negotiation with them about the acquisition of the right-of-way for them and have not consummated the contract with them yet. We would like to get it as cheaply as possible. They have obligations they need to meet, and so the estimates on the proposed use of the funds, as you see presented, anticipate that we will be paying something for the right-of-way, but we hope to make it cheaper, and we're still in negotiations with them.
All right.
So, Mr. Church, they're a willing seller?
They're a willing seller. They want this to happen. This is very important, as Shane said, not only for UDOT, but for the success of the redevelopment of the Geneva Steel site. And so they are very willing. This will have the added benefit of increasing the ability to create tax increment off the site, because it opens up some property for sale for some higher and better uses, and is necessary for the Vineyard Town and the RDA. Anderson Geneva is fully in favor of this. The recalcitrant partner in this is the railroad, who finds it easier to keep it the same, but we're close to agreements with everybody to make this happen, and this loan is a key piece to finance it, and without this loan, I don't think this will happen within any short period of time.
Thank you, Mr. Church. Any other questions?
Just a question on the railroad position. It would seem from what I see on the map that the customers interested in having service from Union Pacific will still have access to that with these new spur lines, and in fact it would be more efficient than the existing one, where I understand a lot of those businesses no longer need railroad service. Is that correct?
That's our understanding. Frankly, from the town side, we have not been directly involved with the negotiations with the railroad. Anderson Geneva has handled that as the property owner and has been involved in it. But our understanding is that this, we feel it would benefit the customers of the railroad. We feel we will not harm the railroad in doing this, and will make the property much more amenable to redevelopment, and will make the whole Geneva Road area much more amenable for future improvements along the existing road line, have this spur moved off of the alignment.
It's my understanding sometimes it's difficult to convince the railroad of that, but good luck.
Thank you. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded then that we approve this SIB loan. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The loan is approved.
Okay, next item is 8B, just behind your yellow divider.
Hold on just a second.
I apologize, I have to go to another meeting now.
We knew that you had to leave us sometime. Thanks for joining us for as long as you could.
And thank you so much, and good luck, Bill.
Bill, I'd just like to address the board and say thank you very much for your help, and Shane especially helping us get, this is very important to get this piece of property brought up to good tax increment. Thank you very much. Just another one of those wheels.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you, Mayor.
Okay, so next item is 8AB, again underneath the State Infrastructure Bank. This is a request from Fountain Green City. Fountain Green City is requesting approval for an SIB loan in the amount of $100,000 to which they would like to use to do chip seal on approximately 30 blocks of roads within the city limits, as well as do some lane leveling. Repayment for this loan would come from Fountain Green's property tax revenue. If you turn just in front of tab 9A-1, you can see a amortization chart. Has a loan amount at $100,000. Again, the interest rate at that 3%. They're also interested in the 10-year period. This will put the payment amount at just under $12,000 a year for them. And again, there is available balance in the SIB to handle this request. So we'd like to seek approval of the SIB loan request from Fountain Green City as detailed.
I'd make a motion, we approve the Fountain Green loan at the same 3% we approved Virginia.
Second. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this SIB request for $100,000 from Fountain Green. Is there any further discussion? If not, a vote please. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Unanimous approval. Thank you.
Okay, next
Let's
item.
move to item 9, but we want to indicate here that there will be a change. Item 9A10, the US 189 Provo Canyon funding adjustment has been deleted from this particular agenda and will be brought again to the commission next month. Next month, we will actually have an opportunity to view this particular segment of the highway because we will be meeting in Heber City for our next meeting. And we will travel this particular area and it will be further explained to us the difficulty that has been discovered in handling this particular project. And so that for this meeting has been deleted and will be taken up again in our meeting in Heber City.
Okay.
I believe that is correct, is it not, Bill?
Correct, that's correct.
So we'll only go through A9, just a few. And that's a 10% reduction. I mean, you know, we're just,
That's good.
we're handling reductions today. Please, Carlos, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. If I could just maybe provide 2 more introductions of folks that have
please.
joined us.
Yes.
Thank you very much. I'd like to recognize Representative Gage Forder. Representative is the chairman of our Appropriations Committee. So when we come to you in April, when we say this is the money that's available to do the work that you do, it's through the work of our chair and our Appropriating Committee. And behind him is the gentleman that knows more about transportation financing than anyone in the state, Mark Blazard, who is the legislative fiscal analyst. And I just wanted to recognize them for being here. And I don't know if the representative wants to address the commission.
Well, let me just say first, welcome to Ogden County. This is my home area. Appreciate you being here. Normally you would say that I may be a little underdressed, but I would say because of the celebration we started today, people on the stand are probably overdressed. So.
Not 5 minutes after the meeting ends.
Let me just say, this morning was the first time I lived in Ogden Valley that I was able to come down Ogden Canyon without stopping for anywhere from 5 to 15 minutes. So kudos to UDOT. I've been in contact with Carlos, thanks to the good work, and Chris Peterson. They've kept me informed. That, in my opinion, that happens to be in my district. It was a very difficult project. UDOT did an outstanding job. I think the contractor did a great job, so we're happy to see that now starting to finalize up, I can say, for my district in the state of Utah. We appreciate that work. So something for Ogden City, Weaver County, that we're going to really see the dividends for the future. So again, thanks for all your work. I appreciate UDOT and what they do. Carlos, in my opinion, we oversee a number of different agencies. We kind of use him and his agency as a model agency of what to do, not the opposite of that. So he does a great job in maintenance all the way through. So we appreciate your work.
We appreciate your attendance today. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for the work you do in the legislature to keep us funded. So
we're going to try to keep that up as long as we can, maybe even improve that, hopefully.
Thank you.
Okay, under tab number 9A-1, this is 2013 STIP Amendment number 9, which these will be throughout these tabs. This is the I-80 near Castle Rock. This is a pipelining project. It's a requested new project. Region 2 is making this request. The project is a pipelining project on I-80 near Castle Rock. The scope of the project would add a 7 to 8 foot diameter pipe, approximately 700 feet long, each crossing both directions of I-80. They are in need of aligning because the invert has rusted completely out. The funding for this would come from $800,000 of IM funds or NHPP IM funds from their deobligation account to fund this project. If you turn the page back, you'll see a project location where these would be installed. And if you turn back one more page, this is some images of the rusted out invert. And you can see it's starting to collapse. Turn 2 pages back. This was a different location where the invert did rust out, lost support. See the pipe that's still round still has its support. The pipe that is oval shaped lost its support in the bottom and collapsed. This caused a collapse in the road, and this was a similar type of issue that they don't want to have occur. So seeking funding for this. And so we'd like to seek approval to add the I-80 near Castle Rock pipelining project to the 2013-2018 STIP.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve this pipeline project. Is there any further discussion? If not, those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you.
Okay, next item is under 9A-2. This is the SR 68 21st South California Avenue project. This is a scope change and funding adjustment. Region 2 is seeking approval to move this project from the pavement rehabilitation project list to the major rehabilitation project list as a standalone project on the STIP. The reason for this is because this section of Redwood Road has been widened to 106 in some places, but remains 60 in others, so they'd like to square up the pavement section on this. Also, drainage is inadequate in this area because the area is flat, so they'd like to install a dual trunk line as well as curb and gutter in this section. The work that they would do, the existing traffic lanes would be roto-milled to 4 inches, resurfaced with 3 inches of hot mix asphalt, and then a 1-inch open graded surface course. The thought is by adding this drainage, it also extend the pavement life in this section. Additionally, the bridge group would like to add $296,000 of their bridge preventative maintenance program funds, as the state bridge funds, to this project as well to do some structural work in the same area. Okay, so on approval of this, we'd like to remove the SR 68 21st South to California Avenue project from the pavement rehabilitation project list, and we'd like to add it as a standalone project and will reside on the major rehabilitation project list. This will reduce the pavement rehabilitation program by the same amount of dollars, and then we'd like to also add the state bridge preventive maintenance funds as well to this project. And so we'd like to seek approval to do this to the STIP.
Motion to approve as stated.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this project move and basically a $300,000 addition to the project for bridge improvements.
Correct.
Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Thank you. Motion passes.
Okay, next item is 9A-3. This is Region 3 Access Utah County Projects, request funding transfers. Region 3 is requesting that $3.5 million in funding be transferred transferred to the SR 92 Lehigh to Highland project. The requested transfer amounts comes from remaining contingency funds in the I-15 Springville 400 South Interchange and Auxiliary Lane project, as well as from the Pioneer Crossing project. The current project value is at just under $167 million. The proposed budget with this transfer would bring it to just over $170,000. The reason or what did I say?
170,000.
Oh, 170 million.
We wish
yes.
we could do that for 170,000.
Yes, to 170 million. The reason for this request is the right-of-way costs end up being approximately 10% higher than what was anticipated. And so we'd like to seek approval to transfer the $3.5 million to the SR 92 Lehigh to Highland project.
Move to approve the transfer as described.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this funding transfer. Do we have further comments? Andrew from the Mountain Land Association of Governments.
Andrew Jackson with Mountain Land Association of Governments. I just want to say that the MPO staff concurs with UDOT staff on this project. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any further comment or question about this?
Bill, is this an indication the economy is getting stronger? I don't know. It costs more to buy the ground to build the road on. It must be something getting better for somebody.
Well, perhaps Queen, who was instrumental in most of this.
I don't know if I'd use that term. The estimate was made in 2008, so between now and then, I think it is lots of change, especially in that area. Adobe wasn't there when we made the estimate. The mall wasn't there, the outlets weren't there, so it's significantly changed. Things have significantly changed since then, so it's not surprising, but
It's still a good thing to do.
yeah.
Any further comment or question? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Passes, thank you.
Okay, next item is under tab 9A-4. This is the Bonneville Shoreline Trail Underpass. This is to cancel a project as well as fund a new project. Highland City, who is the original sponsor of this project, Mountain Lands Association of Governments in Region 3, requests approval to cancel the Bonneville Shoreline Trail project and transfer it to the Murdoch Canal Trail project. All three of these parties agree that after initial scoping of the Bonneville Shoreline Trail, that the Murdoch Trail better met the regional needs for this type of project. This requests that the remaining transportation enhancement funds, which is just over $506,000, be moved to construct the Mitchell Hollow Trailhead. If you turn a page back, there's a diagram that shows the plan there for the trailhead for the Mitchell Hollow project. And then if you go another page back, it kind of shows the relative location of each of these projects, where the Bonneville Shoreline Trail project was located and the amount of funding to be transferred, recommended to be transferred. The CMAQ funds on the Bonneville Shoreline Trail Underpass project will be returned back to MAC to be reprogrammed at a later date. There's just over $430,000 of those type of funds. And, this request is also to be approved by, will be approved by MAG as part of their TIP approval process in the beginning of August in their board meeting. And so we'd like to seek approval to cancel the Bonneville Shoreline Trail project and transfer the funding to create the Mitchell Hollow Trailhead project and add it to the STIP.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve the canceling of one project and moving the funding to a new project. Further discussion. Andrew, please.
Again, Andrew Jackson with Mountain Land Association of Governments. We appreciate UDOT working with Highland City and Mountain Land to make this transfer. It's a great thing, and it will have positive impacts. Just for your information, on that trail, we have infrared counters, and we're still collecting data on that, but about a month ago, just on one Saturday, we had over 11,000 users of that trail just in one day. So this is going to be a great asset and additional improvements to this trail system, and we appreciate UDOT understanding the importance of that and working with us on this. So we concur. Thank you.
Are those pedestrian or cyclists?
We're working on getting that data refined down to determine if it's pedestrians or cyclists. We do know that we do have commuters on, bicycle commuters that use this backbone of the trail. It was on a Saturday, and so we expect there's more recreation use, but there's also going to be, people that would not use their cars and would be using this as well. But I've seen anywhere from people with triple strollers with triplets in it, families bicycling, to the long distance commuters going to work on there. I don't live too far from the trail in Orem, but just want to know that it's a success, and we've got a lot of people that it carries on there, and this will be a benefit, so thank you.
Andrew, is this trail open to animals, horses and dogs?
Yes, horses, I would suppose with that you could also take a dog on there. The canal's been piped, so we're not worried about watershed issues or things like that.
One question procedurally. I'm new, so bear with me a bit. The MAG board has not yet approved this, so does this need to be, the motion need to be contingent on their approval?
I was gonna ask Andrew if there's any doubt about their approval.
No, I don't think there's going to be any problem with that. We've worked through the staff and everything. We canceled our meeting in July, or this would have gone in our July meeting, so it'll just go to our August meeting, and we don't see any issues or concerns with it.
The commission has done it both ways in the past. The project cannot be moved forward without both agencies approving it, so the commission can do it recognizing that we still need the approval of MAG to move forward.
I can change my motion to include that.
I think the
I don't think you
discussion
need to.
probably covers it.
Okay.
It becomes null and void if they don't act anyway.
Exactly.
Yeah, we can't move ahead anymore. Been moved and seconded, and no further discussion. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, thank you.
Okay, next item is 9A-5. This is bridge preservation in Washington, various locations. This is a new project request. The bridge group is requesting approval to add bridge preservation in Washington, various locations. The transfer fund will fully fund bridge minor rehabilitation. It'll allow rehabilitation of 4 structures. I'm not going to read those structure numbers, but they're all located on a map. If you turn the page back, you can see the location of where these are at. These are just northeast of Washington and in Washington, where these structures are located. The work that they're looking to do on these also will include pothole patching, a polyester concrete overlay on 3 of the structures, which provides a 25-year treatment on the decks. This extends the life to match the life cycle of the structure itself. Also, one of the structures will be sealed to minimize infiltration of water and chlorides into the deck surface. So we'd like to seek approval to add the bridge preservation in Washington, various locations projects to the 2013-2018 STIP.
So moved. Second. Moved and seconded that we add these projects to the 2013-2018 STIP. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, thank you.
Okay, next item is under tab 9A-6. This is cash NPO tip amendments, add a new project to the STIP. This is a request for a new congestion mitigation and air quality CMAQ type funding project. The amendment would add project for facility improvements to the Aggie Blue Bikes at USU. The project value for this is just over $96,000. The project would make facility improvements for more storage and a better workspace, for service delivery, for the Aggie Blue Bike checkout program. It also would allow for doubling the number of bikes that they have in their inventory. Currently they have 230. This amendment was approved by the CMPO board at their June 17th meeting. And so we'd like to seek approval to add the Aggie Blue Bikes at USU project to the STIP.
Move for approval.
Second. Moved and seconded that we allow the Aggies to ride bikes across their campus in greater numbers. Any further discussion?
This request was originally turned down by the committee that was set up by the CMPO because of certain provisions that they originally requested. They were recommended to go back and rethink it, which they did. And as Bill mentioned, it was approved by the board at the last meeting. So a good project.
Sounds like it will be. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, thank you.
The next item is under tab 9A-7. These are programming funding adjustments at award. As Ahmed mentioned earlier today, as we continue to get good bids at award, we look at those projects and remove the funding off of those so we can put it back to work. And so if you turn the page back, you'll see a list of the projects that have funding that is coming off at award. And so we'd like to seek approval to transfer the funding as detailed, and then this funding will come back as more projects move forward.
I make a motion to approve that.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this transfer of funds. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.
Okay, next item is under tab 9A-8. This is a similar type request, but this is now at completion or at project final voucher. Several projects have reached the construction complete and are beginning the closeout process, and they have available funding to be removed and reprogrammed. You turn the page back, it has the list of those projects that are in this status and the amount of funding that we're returning back to be reprogrammed.
Move for approval of the transfers as requested.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this transfer of funds, and this amounts to about $7 million, right?
Correct.
Pretty close. And this comes from good bids over what was originally estimated? Is that basically where this comes from?
Mr. Chairman, probably a little of that because, we hadn't started pulling money back at award the way we've been doing. Your action you just took really represents that. But what I was going to say is this really represents the regions all managing the risks on the individual projects. We keep a contingency in those projects, and when we start to see these types of monies coming back to the commission for reprogramming, I think we have to really thank the regions for the good work they're doing in managing their projects, staying within scope and managing those risks, working with our partners, the contractors. It's really a big part of this.
Yeah, $7 million coming back is very valuable for other projects that we can consider. All right, been moved and seconded that this be approved. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes, thank you.
Okay, next item is 9A-9. This is to seek approval for the addition of the 2013 Utah Federal Recreational Trails Program to the STIP. Just a little background on this. The Federal Recreational Trails Program was authorized by Congress in 1991 as part of the ICE-T. This act established the Recreational Trails Program funding. In the last MAP 21 reauthorization was allowed as a set-aside if was desired by the state, which we allowed that to occur. And so we continue that program to go through 14 and 15 as well, or 13 and 14. 15's not yet. So this recommendation for the 2013 program has 32 projects. It's totaling just over $1.2 million in federal aid. A page back has a list of the projects and the amount funded for each of those. It's broke down into non-motorized as well as motorized type trail projects.
Bill, would you speak just a minute to really where they come from, the process by identifying these projects?
Yes, there's Utah State Parks and Recreation Divisions has a committee. It's headed up by Chris Haller, and he is here. He would probably be better to speak on this. I'm going to let him do that.
Please, thank you for coming and joining us.
Chris Haller, Utah State Parks and Recreation Off-Highway Vehicle Program Coordinator and also the Recreational Trails Program Grant Administrator. As Bill mentioned in front of you, it's pleasant to be here in front of the chair and also the rest of the commission and the director as well. There's a familiar face on the commission as well. So It's nice to see a familiar face. The 32 grants that are in front of you are actually they're equally distributed by the funding that's provided by the Federal Highway Administration. Basically, Utah State Parks is a pass-through agency. We have roughly about $1.3 to $1.4 million annually that we receive, and then they are divided equally, like I mentioned, by motorized and non-motorized. We have two different advisory councils that are made up of representatives and user groups that comprise or make these recommendations that are presented in front of you today. And we do this on an annual basis, and we work cooperatively with UDOT in order to ensure that these projects move forward. They're a great asset in a lot of the rural settings, and also provide a lot of economic stimulus along with livability amongst the community and those visiting from outside the state.
Is there a cumulative length of these? 5 miles, 20 miles, no miles?
Well, I can go back and research that out for the commission, each one varies. As you can see, some of it's maintenance oriented,
Right.
Even though most of those are you know, if you even look at the Paiute one, that's
But
just
there is
by
some
itself.
increased capacity among these 32 projects.
Correct, there is. You look at the Manburger Trail, for example, up in Willard. That will be a new trail, along with the Marsh Meander Trail, which are really close here. Another addition to a trail that exists within the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service there at the Bear River Wildlife Refuge.
Okay, thank you.
So we'd like to seek approval to add these projects, and these get added on as a single line item in the STIP. It'll be the Recreational Trails Program.
I make a motion to approve as it's stated.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve these projects to be added to the STIP. Any further discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Passes unanimously. Number 10, we're going to delay until August when we're up in Heber. We have a chance to actually look at that.
So I'll do item under tab 9B. This is the 2014-2018 Airport Statewide Capital Improvement Program. We brought this to the commission in May for your review. There were a few minor changes that occurred. $60,000 was added to the 2014 Cedar City Pavement Preservation Project. This is due to bids came in higher than anticipated, so we needed to add additional funding to that project. And then Wendover's received good bids, and so they revised the order of their projects in order to complete. They were able to shift some of those up. We've got attached the statewide capital improvement program for airports for each of the year. Other than those changes mentioned, it's the same list that you saw in May. And so we'd like to seek approval of the 2014-2018 SCIP.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Been moved and seconded that we approve this request for, I guess it's the 2014-2018 SCIP for the Aeronautics Division.
Correct.
Any further discussion, comments?
Matt Swap here is
And
here
I
as
see
well.
Pat back there as well, so.
He's our aeronautics programming engineer.
Either of you care to make a comment on this capital improvement program?
Thank you for the offer, Commissioner, but no thank you.
Just get it passed and be done with it. All right, those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? You got your wish, Pat. See, Corey, I think you've got the winter closures study update.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I'll be very brief, but we wanted to give you just a quick status, if you will, and it'll be very quick because we haven't started the project. You might recall that the 2013 general session, the legislature directed $10 million to go into the transportation fund for programming by the commission. One of the projects that was recommended for funding was done back in May in Vernal, and it was to approved $200,000 for a study to look at the possibilities and the potential benefits of maintaining some of our seasonally closed state highways throughout the winter. We have 8 routes throughout the state of Utah that are considered seasonal roads, if you will. As you might imagine, the reason for the closures are their high mountain passes, deep snow in the wintertime. There was some consideration on, I think over the past, we've always had maybe some residents on one side of the pass or the other make requests for additional snow plowing, early opening, late closure, things like that. And it's been brought to the attention of the commission many times throughout the years. It was felt like we ought to at least look at the potential of benefits that might be received in doing that. The funding became available July 1st of this year. Our intent is to have that be a planning study through our central planning division. And once we announce a planning director, we expect that to move forward very quickly. Again, there was $200,000. One of the things, and I don't want to get folks alarmed, that there's a lot of pros and cons either way you go here. A lot of these routes are used recreationally during the wintertime, snowmobilers and things like that, and I suspect, intuitively, at least right now, we all suspect that those routes probably should remain closed and this won't be a big issue. But one of the routes in Region 1 that we'll be looking at is Monte Cristo, and again, it serves, it runs from Huntsville over into Randolph. There are residents over in Randolph that would love to have that road open for longer time throughout the year. But there's also a large user base of recreational users in the wintertime, so those are the types of things that we'll have to address there. That's about all I have right now, and as we get started with this project, we certainly will keep the commission apprised of the status and any ongoing events. And if you have any specific questions, I'll try to answer those.
Corey, who specifically will be doing the study? Will that be in-house or out of house?
It will, I suspect we will outsource at least a portion of that, right? We probably don't have the staff to be able to address that fully.
I suspect that the snowmobile users of Monte Cristo outnumber the population.
We probably have several routes of those 8 that I think are going to be in that same boat, Commissioner.
Will you make an attempt to reach those snowmobile users at the wintertime to get their input?
Absolutely. I think we just did.
I've had one of them anyway.
I have to tell you, I'm a member of that community, and when this project was announced back in May, I've had several acquaintances approach me saying, "What are you guys thinking?" and things like that. But we have to look at both sides too.
Well, get them excited. Tell them we're planning on doubling the size of the road. It's going to be open all year long, and they're going to have to find someplace else.
Well, and
just look at their eyes when you tell them.
Absolutely. So, and I think there may be some shared opportunities as well still. So, but we'll look closely at that. We'll be working closely with the Governor's Office of Economic Development. Those partners will provide some information as well to the study.
So, Corey, it won't be just a economic study. You'll get some user groups, some stakeholders from both sides, and have that conversation.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Would this study include Commissioner Bolt's favorite idea of connecting the ski resorts over the top in Salt Lake County?
So SR 190, Guardsman Pass, is a connection that we would look at. It's a seasonal closure road. Runs from the top of Big Cottonwood Canyon over into, there's a disconnect on the state highway, but it runs to the top of the pass and then drops down either into Midway or into Park City. And yes, that will be part of the study as well.
Didn't I hear recently that that the interest in being able to do that or to create some kind of connection there between Brighton and Park City, the interest is waning? I thought I heard a news program recently about that.
Commissioner.
Maybe I'm mixing
Yes.
two projects.
Yeah, I think so. There's a concept that's been referred to as ski link. And what I've seen in the news the last several days is that interest in Congress in ski link is fading, because there was some conversations at that level, and that was the concept. There was a gondola area, a cable facility to link Big Cottonwood Canyon with the I was going to say Park West. It's Canyon. I'm sorry. That kind
Okay,
of shows
so
my age.
I'm mixing two things.
Yeah. Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, you got to be careful. These neophytes, they get dangerous. Crazy. Okay. Any other questions for Corey? Comments? Thank you very much. We look forward to a report.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda, we begin to talk about some of the storm damage that has occurred recently. We've had a number of slides, and as a matter of fact, I think we thought we had SR 31 open, but yesterday it closed again. And I suppose we're making great progress, but we have 3 projects at least to report on here. Is Dave here? All right, he's going to give us a report on Little Cottonwood.
All Dave comes out, we have a report on 31 as well.
What's the current
Well,
status?
when we get.
Oh, when we get done?
We sent out the agenda before we started experiencing those challenges.
Okay. All right, please.
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is David Schwartz. I'm the Region 2 Program Manager. I've been asked to report today a little bit on what took place in Little Cottonwood Canyon over the 4th of July weekend. About 3 a.m. in the morning of July 5th, the Mother Nature put a storm down and brought some debris down from the canyon down onto the road and washed part of the road out and some of the shoulders and deposited some of that debris on the road as well. The road was closed till about 2 a.m. or 2 p.m. that next afternoon. And when we close a road, we can look at the numbers and we can see how it affects the numbers. But as Ahmed was saying about safety earlier, we need to look at the people and how it affects their lives. Just an example of that, if this road had stayed closed longer than the 2 p.m., I know that there was a couple weddings up at Snowbird that probably would not have taken place. But the maintenance...
At least at Snowbird.
At least at Snowbird.
Yeah, okay.
Well, I don't know. I mean, if it was my wife and it was her wedding day and she had planned to have it at Snowbird and it wasn't happening, I wouldn't want to be around.
You would have been
very
right
long.
for the
Yeah. But our maintenance crews did a fantastic job of getting that open, and then we had another little bit of storm that evening and had to close it down at 11 p.m. that night, and it was back open again at 6 a.m. the next morning. Have a few pictures that just kind of show some of the damage and the force of Mother Nature. The water here started to undercut the road in this spot. In some spots, it did take out part of the road and we had to repave the road. It also took out some of the asphalt shoulder. This picture kind of illustrates some of the force as well. That picture on the left with the trees with the bark missing, that is from the debris that came down the canyon. They came up that high. As well as you see the hole there at the bottom, there's a culvert for water that crosses, and that was completely filled up with debris, as well as a couple feet onto the road in this area. If you went back that last slide, you'd also see that it wasn't just little rocks that came down, it's big boulders in the culvert you see there. And to clean those out, I don't know how you do that, but our maintenance guys are magicians sometimes, and they get those things cleaned out. This next picture shows them trying to get those cleaned out, because if they don't clean out those culverts, the water doesn't have any place to go other than over top of the road, and another possibility of taking it out, but they do a fantastic job. Here's some other pictures of the maintenance crews bringing in material, filling in the shoulders. some of the debris that came down on the road, some of the condition that left some of our culverts in. There's still tasks that are being completed, need to be completed. We need to finish the shoulders, putting in the asphalt gutters back, finish cleaning out a few culverts. And this is going to take a period of time. This storm affected about 8 miles in the canyon. It started what we call Snowbird entrance number 2 and went down the canyon for about 8 miles. There's different spots along that it affected. But it's going to take us a little while, about 3 weeks, to get this back to where it was prior to the storm. And we're anticipating several loads of material that we need to bring in to accomplish that, and an estimated cost about $90,000 to do this. Did you have a question, Carlos?
Yeah, Dave, I understood that, and this was very preliminary, that you were maybe thinking you were going to have to come to the commission for some additional funding to restore some of the roadways. Are you not thinking that now?
I'm not aware of that at this point, but I'm not going to discount that possibility at this point either.
We may see you again soon.
Yeah, all the work's not complete. That's basically all I have. Just want to point out one thing and highlight our maintenance workers and the work they did. Since this was over the 4th of July weekend, several of the shed crew were on vacation with their family. But when they heard about the road being washed out and that they need to have it opened, they were up there at 2 in the morning cleaning up the road. Were there all day, and then they were back again the next night from 11 to 6 a.m. cleaning that up. These are the heroes that aren't seen very often that help keep the public moving and keep them safe on the road. So I just wanted to highlight their activity on this. So
Thank you for doing that. We appreciate the rapid response, the work that they do under less than ideal conditions. I mean, it must be terrible to be up in the canyon working, but
well, yeah.
but especially having to do that, and knowing that you've got people behind you trapped wanting to get out, or people down below wanting to get in for various reasons, and knowing those deadlines, we appreciate the solid work that they do.
They do a great job, and I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Is there any other questions?
Questions on the Little Cottonwood Canyon? I guess we've got a report now on American Fork Canyon. Terry, are you doing that one?
I'm not sure if I have any photos other than what's in your packet. No, looks like not. It takes me longer to walk down here probably than to talk about this one. We had on Sunday of July 4th weekend, we did have a big downpour and had the road closed, American Fork Canyon, for a couple of hours. We responded quickly, had 3 or 4 crew members out there and had it cleaned up fairly quickly. Again, great response by our crews, and probably not a lot more to say than that unless you have any questions. Ours was fairly small in comparison to what everybody else had to deal with.
It appears from these pictures this was mostly debris that covered the road that had to be cleaned off. Didn't take the road itself out.
No, it didn't. I think there was some concern there might be a little shoulder work needed, but we've already taken care of it, and it was not a very costly item.
All right, thank you. Any questions for Terry? Thank you.
Terry? I just want to thank you for your great leadership work on Mountain View Corridor, and congratulations on a new assignment.
Thank you.
All right, Rex, are you doing this one on?
Yeah, Rex Harris from Region 1. I'm kind of the default to talk about this. Probably the resident expert is not here with us. Our chairman, Commissioner Holt, is out of town, as well as Representative Frohr. Probably could have done well with this as well. It looked like he had to go out and ride a bull, so I guess I've left in charge to talk about this. What I need to talk about is what this event was not. This was not a storm-related event. It was not the rupture of the water line that's being replaced in Ogden Canyon, nor was it a rupture of a water line itself, or the contractor didn't cause this to happen. Actually, I'm going to show you here, this picture, if you remember last year when we were up in Ogden, I had a bunch of old pictures from the turn of the century that we showed everyone. Actually, I have an opportunity to use one finally, that this is a picture near the turn of the century of Ogden Canyon, but that arrow is kind of locating the place where this slide occurred. What we have here is what happened. There's an older line that was in service for Ogden, a steel pipe that had an air relief valve that failed. And I have a picture later on to show kind of where that was. But what actually happened about 11 a.m. on the 9th, we got a call saying that we had a geyser, water shooting up straight up in the air, about 100 feet in the air. And it came down on the slope, and about a half hour later, the slope gave way, which caused us debris to come out on the road. Pushed about a 10 barrier into the river. Ogden City did get in quickly. Fortunately, we had traffic control because of the construction project Ogden City had going on, that we were able to shut the canyon down, had traffic control already in place. And Ogden City cleaned up, and we pulled our barrier out of the river. There was about 4 barrier that we needed to replace, but we were able to pull that right back out. And we were able to have the road reopened by 5:30 that evening for the evening traffic to come in. I might mention with Representative Frohr, I know that he's quite familiar with this project, because every morning at 5 a.m. we sit patiently waiting for the canyon to open back up. They have been closing it nightly to work on the canyon, and it was refreshing, as he mentioned, that this morning we were able to drive down the canyon without any traffic control, both lanes open. Ogden City did attempt to recharge their line the next day, and noticed that they were having leakage about 100 yards further down the road, and they said, I think it's time that we abandon this line, and they shut it back down. If you forward on, there's the picture of the air relief valve that blew. Go ahead to the next picture. That silver right in the center is about the 2-inch hole where that valve was, and so all that water came out of that 2 inches in the pipe. The pipe itself didn't rupture, just that air valve itself came up, blew off that manhole lid and shot into the air. And fortunately, it's an area that's quite vegetated, and so there's a lot of support on that slope. Once we cleaned everything off and went and scaled the rock that may have been loose at all, we were able to open back up. And it's kind of interesting, that first picture that we showed from about the turn of the century, and you can see up on the, Chris is going to zoom back there really quick. If you look on the right-hand side, that slope up there looks fairly bare, not a lot of vegetation. There's tons of vegetation on that slope today. Now, I know that people say that correlation is not, does not imply causation, but with all the leakage that Ogden City had in all their water lines coming down the canyon, it would be easy for someone to say that Ogden City's been watering the slopes that cause all the vegetation to grow. I don't know if that has any direct correlation, but it is interesting to see that over the past 100 years, how much of the change there is. That slope now is, in fact, along the river as well. There's a lot of trees that are there along the river now. We've cleaned it up. It was a minor incident to have the road closed for just a few hours, and we got it open back up again.
The purpose of that air relief valve was to allow air trapped in the pipe to escape.
Yes.
Shouldn't have allowed water.
Yeah, the valve itself failed, it broke off, and so.
What do you suppose the pressure, the water pressure is at that point?
I have no idea.
Must be pretty high to get that much water out of 2 inches.
It was probably about 120 pounds at that location. And what happened is that line had been in commission for probably about 100 years. And you're right, it's to relieve air out of the line. However, if I had the nipple that was in there that blew, it was actually probably as thin as this paper. It had just worn out, and it is paper thin, and it finally ruptured.
So the condition of the line would be comparable in other places as well if it's that old.
Yes, and I'm Justin Anderson. I'm the city engineer with Ogden, and we've had problems with this line for years, actually. Back in 2008, I'm sure Rex remembers when the interconnect failed at the mouth of the canyon on this line and shut the canyon down for about 3 days. So we've been working on replacing this line. That's why we're doing work in the canyon. We actually have a design in place to decommission that line going up the hillside. And due to the problems, we feel that we just cannot take risk to the public of putting water back in. That puts us in a situation where we have to deliver water to the residents down here on this side. And so we've been working through those issues, trying to get by until we can get that line back in service going up the canyon.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now, we have a report on
SR 31.
31.
That's me.
Oh, okay.
Want me to go there? You want to just do it from
Yeah,
here?
you're fine.
Okay. Well, first of all, one of the biggest challenges with this new job is I get a geography lesson each and every day, and this is no exception. When this happened, I had to look at a map to find out where SR 31 is. So for those of you who don't know, it's Huntington Canyon.
You need to get south of Provo.
I can do Spanish.
Come see me. I live right next to 31.
So it goes from Huntington over to Fairview, and it's in Emory County, by the way. So now I know. Nate will call and say, there's flooding at Engineers Canyon and Pole Canyon. Okay, thanks, Nate. So on last Thursday morning early, the flash flood occurred. We had about 1.5 miles of the road covered with debris. We got it open later that day, but the storm came again and closed it again, and it's been closed since Wednesday. It's closed again today. Nate just texted and said they think they may have it open by this evening. So that's a possibility. So some pictures, back one, Chris, just real quick. So this is the Engineers Canyon. This is a location that happened last year as well. So we're guys moving debris off the road. At North Hughes Canyon, you can see the water came down through that drainage and pushed a lot of debris out of that channel out onto the roadway. Last year we put in some gabion baskets at this location, and those are gone. The riprap's gone. The channel just took it right away and almost got into the road bank, but not quite. This has been reestablished and will be not fully reestablished, but we'll be working on it over the summer months to protect our road. This is a little bit further down the canyon. The road is up on your left, up on the top left, so that fill slope right there is the fill slope for the road. You can see that the channel's eating away again at this location. Further down at Mill Canyon, this is where most of the debris was. There's a couple of overhead pictures of this. Oh, they're on the right order. But here we are moving off about 1,000 feet of debris right there. Another erosion at Engineers Canyon. So basically the whole, what was it? Milepost 27 to 34 for so 7 miles of just all over the place throughout the canyon. It's pretty extensive. Another one at Mill Canyon. Next. So this is from above that erosion. You can see how close it's getting to the road. Yeah, it's getting close.
Well, and this is a result of the Cedar Canyon fires that we had last year, and the vegetation is gone.
Just gone. An aerial shot at Engineers Canyon. You can see the length of the debris, and then an aerial shot from the fire from last year. So you can see that the vegetation is completely gone, and any rain just brings that soil right down to the road. Just more shots from above. Got a lot of work, and they're still there today. That's about it. Any questions?
Thank you. Questions for Shane?
Fumble through.
Shane, ready?
Shane, what does it look like in terms of cost for this? Will we got a sufficient money to take care of this?
I don't know. I would bet that you're going to see us sometime in the future looking for some money on this one. This is now day 4.
I mean, that's a pretty big repair.
Yeah. Yeah, but it'll be passable after today, they'll still be repairing some of that erosion. For a while.
Commissioners, we do this cleanup work out of our maintenance budget that's funded through the legislature, but any capital projects we need to do, such as probably reestablishing those gabion baskets to protect the slopes, those type of capital projects, we're gonna be back to the commission for.
Okay.
You know, just a side note to this, they always called this the asbestos forest. There's never been a major forest fire in it, but with the beetle kill that's come in, and all the, you saw the pine trees that are dead, when the lightning hit, it was tinderbox, it just went crazy, they couldn't control it at all.
We just figured you guys been bad down there and you're being paid off.
About time, don't you think?
Careful now.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you for those reports on some of the damage that's happened. I think we have an administrative efficiency report now from Becky. Give us some background on why this report and the real information that should have gotten out. Becky, thank you for being here.
Thank you and good morning. Becky Bradshaw, UDOT Comptroller. So a few weeks ago, the Reason Foundation, which is an organization that produces public policy research on a variety of issues, published its annual report. The report indicated that Utah's per mile administrative spending was 3.7 times the national per mile average, ranking Utah 45th in the country. However, Reason Foundation's report is misleading, and I'm here today to explain to you where they got their information and also present the correct information.
Has this been supplied to the Reason Foundation?
No.
Will it be?
I don't know the author, but I know Bob Poole, who does a lot of work there, and we're gonna have a conversation.
Thank you.
But first, I think it's important to know that some media outlets got a hold of Reason Foundation's study, and they published some stories based on their study, and also to publish the inaccuracies. Here on this slide, I'm showing you a couple of comments made from the Salt Lake City Tribune. Again, they're just basically commenting on the Reason Foundation study. I won't read them all, but basically what they're saying is Utah's administrative costs per mile of highway went from $12,000 in 2007 to $42,000 in 2009. And on the next page is a copy of their report, the Reason Foundation's report, and also a link to their website, in case you're interested in seeing what they have.
Has the Tribune been set straight too?
I think they know, and in fact, they gave us a chance to comment before they published their article, and we told them the numbers were wrong, but
In their article, that's one paragraph in the article. It went on to say that there was some good stuff in there, and they did publish that we had given them new numbers. We didn't do the division like the recent report said. We said our budget in 2007 was this, and in 2009 it was this, and you could see that it didn't grow by 200%. So they did publish that. They acknowledged that we felt like the numbers were wrong. They just took verbatim from this report and put it in their report, into their article.
so Reason Foundation on this next slide, they obtained their information from the Federal Highway Administration. From their report titled Highway Statistics, which FHWA got their information from us, actually from my office. Due to a federal mandate, UDOT is required to report on a variety of topics, including expenditures, obligations, highway infrastructures, bridges, etc. It's actually a very complicated report. I mean, there's like 12 different reports that we have to report on, ranging from anywhere from 4 hours to 380 hours per report. Very complicated forms to fill out and send to them. This next slide is one of the reports that the Federal Highway Administration publishes on their website, titled Disbursements for State Administered Highways. And as you can see there, I've kind of highlighted in yellow the column that the Reason Foundation was focusing their attention on. It's titled Administration, Research, and Planning. And there it says Utah spent $247 million in administration, research, and planning. So on the next slide, what Reason did is they took that number and they divided it by 5,840, which is what they are saying is the number of miles under UDOT's control, which is really our center lane miles. But they used that number, did this calculation, ranked us, and again said that we were 45th in the nation due to that. And then also I want to point out the increase from 2007 to 2009, that there was a large increase between those years. But if you go to the next slide, I want to focus your attention to the fine print at the bottom, which states that the numbers in that column are administrative expenditures, but they also include miscellaneous expenditures. So we're not just looking at administrative costs, we're looking at a variety of other things. And in fact, I know it's hard to read there, so the next slide, I've put it on the slide for you. It's how it reads is the classification of administration and miscellaneous expenditures is not uniform for all states because of the indeterminate amounts charged to construction and maintenance projects. So in fact, I called back to DC, the FHWA there, and talked to a lady, and she pointed me to their website where right there it states that users need to recognize that highway statistical information is not comparable across all states. When making state level comparisons, it is inappropriate to use these statistics without recognizing those differences that impact comparability. So I mean, it's out there along with their information for users to see that. UDOT included these items as miscellaneous expenditures: corridor preservation fund, county of the first class, equipment, maintenance. So as you can see, it's not just administrative costs. I'm not sure if other DOTs have a corridor preservation fund. I'm not sure what they are including in that column as well, but it's not just administrative costs.
Becky, was there a change year to year?
Well,
Yes.
I think that's important because we were not consistent in what we lumped into the miscellaneous.
Well, that was my question.
Yeah, unfortunately, due to the complexity of the forms and the room for interpretation of how the forms are to be completed, our department was not consistent from one year to the next. In fact, in 2007 and 2008, we did not include maintenance because there really is another area to put maintenance expenditures. But for some reason, from 2009 to 2012, we did include maintenance as an miscellaneous expenditure in that column, as well as the other places where it belonged. So, yeah, there definitely was not a consistency there, and that's why you see that jump from those 2 years. In fact, on the next slide, under our true administrative expenditures are here. In 2007, we were appropriated $67.7 million, and we actually spent $58.6. And again, you see in 2008 and 2009, we never did spend more than what was appropriated to us for administrative costs. And administrative costs are support services, engineering services, and region management. It's not anything that we're putting on the road. It's not, it's administrative costs. Right? The difference that you see from 2007, 8, and 9 is you see that amount increase, the amount that was appropriated increased right there in 2007 to 2008. We did have an internal fund service increase of 9.8%, and then our employees received a 5% COLA. So I mean, that
5% COLA?
that's what it showed in 2008. Yeah, we haven't received anything since then.
She's right. Wow.
But that makes up the reason. That's the reason why that increased there. And then again in 2009, we also had some internal service funds increases. So if you take the correct administrative expenditure number, divide it by our center lane miles, you'll see that we did not spend $42,000 per mile of highway, we only spent 11. But again, that's not true either, because 5,840 is center lane miles, is what Reason Foundation reported. That's the number of miles under our control, but on the next slide, you'll see that we really managed 15,964 lane miles. So if you take that calculation with the correct administrative expenditures, the correct miles of highway, our cost per mile of highway is $4,125.
Yeah, I want to highlight this just for a minute. The idea of the center line miles and using that number, which is a very commonly understood across the industry, and Reason certainly understands what it is, but think about this. I would imagine that Montana does not have many multi-lane highways, but they probably have a lot of miles. But think of California, they probably have roads of 6, 7 lanes wide in each direction. But they're still considering a mile of highway in Montana being equivalent to a mile of highway in LA. That's what this calculation that the Reason Foundation did is doing. So to try to compare states with that type of analysis is, it's an interesting approach is all I'm gonna say.
James, you gotta do something about this.
Well.
Again, they stated.
No, I'm sorry.
No, I'm saying, we do publish this highway statistics manual, it is federally mandated. There's about 13 reports that are required as part of the federal funding. This report's been around since 1945. And we're very clear in that report, like Becky has said, that when you list, we get this information from the states as far as administration and miscellaneous expenses. We're not going to change and try to normalize any data at the DC level. It's purely a state Fed report, and we do have spot checks to where we see if we see these large increases in different numbers from year to year. But it's a spot check type approach. It's not a line for line, so we wouldn't have caught every single line where there's large increases. But it's absolutely right that you cannot just take one line from one state and compare it to another state and do this calculation. That's certainly not the intent of this report. Our statistics.
Dan, just think how good we're gonna look next year. 10 times better.
At least.
I bet we pay attention to it.
Oh, we are now, right?
Yeah.
Any other questions? Hey,
Any other questions? Becky, thank you very much for that clarification. That's very helpful.
Yeah, and this was, I want to thank Becky for this. You know, she had a fire drill. I asked her to look at this, and I was a little adamant about her looking at this. And unfortunately, her employee that had been compiling the report for many years had just recently passed away. And it was quite the forensic work that they had to do, getting access into his computer and trying to understand the logic he used as he provided that report. So I want to thank Becky and took her away from her day job a little bit to make me feel a little more comfortable.
Work well done, thank you. Next item on the agenda is for an administrative rule review. I guess this is from for tow trucks. Tell us all about this.
Excellent. Good morning, and thanks for having me, Commissioners. I appreciate this opportunity to address this panel. Just a little background. During the 2013 session, House Bill 115 was adopted. As part of that legislation, came out as a Utah Consumer's Bill of Rights for any individual that has their vehicle that's removed from a non-consent perspective. The consumer at the first contact is required to be given this Bill of Rights. This Bill of Rights identifies the things that they need to be aware of, how much they can be charged, how they're notified of how the vehicle, where the vehicle is at, storage fees, compliance with miscellaneous rules and regulations, and another thing is how they would report any challenges with possible rules that haven't been followed. Back in May, we established an emergency rule as part of the legislation that had to be in effect in May. So there's an emergency rule currently in effect. The changes to R 909-19 at this point would just make sure that that rule goes forward. The 90-day, the emergency rule is good for 90 days, and so that this rule changes to put in effect those changes at that point. So Rule 909-19-7 basically has all the information identified as part of the Bill of Rights. So there's a section, a lengthy section there that describes each particular class of vehicle, what they can be charged, what the storage rates are, and information of that sort. We did a couple other administrative adjustments to the rule, R 19-8. There was an addition to another a source that provides driver certification training for the tow industry. So there's an addition to a company, North American Towing Academy, that's been put into the rule. R 909-19-20, there was a deletion in that section. There was actually a requirement in there that we do a the department would do an annual report on fees that have changed or rules that have changed. We took that out. We've never completed an annual report, but our rule reflects every change that happens in any of those areas. And so we're going to utilize the administrative rule as the place where all changes will be identified. Then the last change, which is in section 21, is just a deletion, an addition of another statement. It used to be called Appeal of Departmental Actions, and now it's just been called Administrative Procedures. So those are the changes that we bring forward to the Commission for your review. I'd be willing to answer any questions at this point.
Any questions on this really quite modest rule change?
Yes.
Chad, where does all the money go that is derived from towing? They ain't come to us?
No, we don't collect anything.
Well, why are we worried about it?
We're mandated.
We have been given the opportunity to administer this.
Yes, that's something that legislatively we've been assigned.
Seems like that's a stretch.
Well, go talk to your friends in the legislature. But until then, that's the obligation.
Mark, we talk.
Who's going to provide these rules? Supposedly the tow company is going to provide the rules to
Yes,
the person?
at the first contact, so as an individual that's had their vehicle removed, the first contact with the tow industry, they're required to provide them with this Bill of Rights, so that they can review that prior to any payment being required.
Does this apply to the private communities like HOA managed, HOA ruled?
Anytime a vehicle is removed without the owner's knowledge, this rule applies.
I think the reason that we're involved and the reason the legislature is involved is people that get their vehicle towed without their consent get mad. And the first thing they do is they call their legislator and say, you gotta do something about this. And the legislature does. So it's kind of a consumer protection thing, which, since it involves transportation, ends up in our bailiwick.
Thanks, Chad.
All right, thank you for that explanation. We do need a motion to approve.
No, this is not a commission rule, so department will come to the commission for review for statute.
Yeah, okay. So at least we know that it's out there.
Yes, exactly, and the opportunity to have some input and comments.
Good, thank you. The next item is corridor preservation. We have a request for some of the funds. Lyle? Diane, thank you.
Thank you, Chairman, Commissioners. I would like to put it out there, if Chad would like to trade tow company regulation for billboard regulation, I'm happy to make the switch.
Be careful what you ask for.
So moved.
All right. Okay, so we have one application for you today, but as is customary, we always start out with the condition of the Marked Jewelry Quarter Preservation Fund balance. And Based on our meeting with you last time, you asked for some additional information, and we've included that up on the top. Basically, it's to help us bridge the gap between where we were during the last commission meeting when we came before you and how we are today. So the balance on the last time we met, April 9th of this year, the balance was $4.7 million. In that intervening 3 months, we've collected $1.1 million through rental revenues and the 2% motor vehicle rental tax that flows into the fund. And in that meeting, you approved several, the obligation of funds towards several acquisitions, but in the meantime, even ones that have been previous to that, one that was in January, 2 that were in March, and 1 that was in April, all closed in that intervening time frame for a total of almost $2.5 million. So when you take that 4.7, you add the 1.1 revenue and subtract the purchases that we made in that intervening time, you get to our current fund balance as of the last day of June of $3.4 million, and that's the number that we're going to go off of today. Do you have any questions about that? Does that meet your expectations?
Any
Helping us
questions
bridge the
on
gap
where we're
between
at?
where we were and where we are?
Thank you for that additional information.
It's our pleasure. Diane McGuire put that together for us. So we also take into account previous obligations that have yet to close and the funds have yet to be expended. We have 3 such properties on the list there. One is GLB on the Mountain View Corridor, just north of 2100 South. We're still working on that one. Another one is the Cleveland Man property. It's a long strip of property, if I can refresh your memory. Long strip of property you can't build on,
10
and
feet wide or something like that.
it's valued at about $10,000, and it has a very colorful, lean history. You name the federal government or agency that wants a piece of this guy's action, and it's probably there. So it's not something that we need right now. We're going to wait and see if things clear up before we move forward. And again, it's only $10,000, so it's not unnecessarily obstructing funds being spent in a better direction. So we're recommending we just leave that there and let this happen. You recall it's kind of similar to the one that was on US 89 for $15,000 that we left on there for several years that we recently closed. It was a good thing we didn't have to come before you again and re-request it. We were just able to get them closed when they came back from their mission. And then the last one is BAC Kaysville one on the West Davis corridor, and that's currently in closing. You'll see that being subtracted from the fund at our next meeting. Any questions on those? Okay, so that leaves, once you take into account those funds, that leaves us a fund balance unobligated of about $2.5 million. We have one application for you today that's on the tab number Lucky 13. And it's Colton Family Residence on the West Davis corridor. It's in the preferred alternative, and the Coltons have lived there for several years. Mr. Colton lost his position here with an employer here in Utah, accepted a position in Texas. And so he moved there, left his wife and 3 young children here to sell the home while he went and accepted his position that he started out in May. The story that they tell in their letter is one of, it's a college town. The father has tried to find temporary housing. He says the minimum he could find temporary housing was about $3,000 a month. So he rented an RV. It was flea infested, so he didn't do that anymore. And then right now he's currently in a college apartment with some college roommates, taking the place of a student who went home for the summer, and he has until the end of the month to find something. And so it was pretty compelling. We reviewed the application in the Quarter Preservation Advisory Council. They've attempted to sell the property, but it has a big line through it, and it's a nice home. It was appraised at $240,000, and they've identified a replacement house in Texas, but are unable to do anything about it because it's contingent upon the sale of this home. The Advisory Council recommends favorably, that the commission obligate the amount of $240,000 for us to make an offer and alleviate Colvin's hardship. What questions do you have?
Move to approve the purchase.
Second. Been moved and seconded that this purchase be approved. Do we have any further discussion or comment? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? It's been approved, Rod.
Very good. Thank you very much,
Now,
Commissioner.
is this a property with its acquisition you'll rent for a
We
while?
will.
Turn it
Yes.
into income property for a while?
In fact, because it's in the middle of an active study area, we will continue to maintain it. We'll turn it into a rental. We'll make sure that we're good neighbors in the community and keep it up to the neighborhood standard. And then that way, if by chance a different alternative distros or anything like that, then we can release it back into the market. We'll do an individualized environmental assessment on it called a categorical exclusion, make sure that it doesn't adversely impact this ongoing study to make sure that everything's on the up and up.
All right, thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank you very much, Commissioners.
Well, the only other items that we have on our agenda are the informational items. Let's hear first from James Christian from the FHWA. Once again, James, we appreciate your attendance, your support, your partnership with us. It's always good to see you, and we know that you get a lot of action between you and UDOT, and we appreciate the solid support that you give us here in the state.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you, Commissioners, and I always appreciate the opportunity to talk before the commission each month. It's different things each time, but there's always something going on. Just to give a brief update of things I think you might be interested in, just to keep you apprised of what's happening in DC and around the US DOT and Federal Highway Administration. As you knew from past meetings, our new Secretary Fox is fully sworn in and in place now. He was previously the mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina. And he's come out publicly and is continuing on with his three main goals with the department. One is ensuring the safety of our nation's transportation system. The second is to improve efficiency and performance, which ties directly in with MAP 21. And finally, his third one is using innovation and creativity to improve our transportation system, which clearly UDOT is going to continue to be a leader in that area. So that's good to see. Currently, right now in our legislation, September 30th is coming to the end of our federal fiscal year, and there's a lot of discussion right now on our new appropriations for next year. The House bill right now is at $44 billion. The Senate bill is at $54 billion. That's a combination of HUD, urban housing development, and transportation. It's a combined bill. So they're fairly close, and then there's discussions, but it's good to talk about it now. So we have our MAP 21 funding levels that will carry into next year, but with this appropriation now, hopefully if it gets passed in time, that'll allow us to have that full year of funding right from the get-go instead of continue, piecemeal like we've seen in the past. So that's good news. There's a lot of discussion and movement on that right now. I just wanted to comment, Ahmed gave a safety report just to give you a window of where we are nationally at this point this year. As of the end of May, there's 13,480 deaths on our nation's highways, which is actually down 5% from this time last year. So that's good news. So a lot of attention, a lot of focus on that, which is good for the entire nation. So with that, there's a few things I wanted to report on, unless there are any questions.
Any questions or comments for James? Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Again, we appreciate your constant support and attendance with us.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, maybe there was a personnel change. I think that was very significant, that has a tie back to Utah that you may want to mention.
Sure. If some of you may remember my predecessor, Butch Wadelick, that was division administrator in Utah for a number of years. Then he moved to California and took on the division administrator position there, and then came back to Utah to live as the what do we call our director of field services, which is somewhat of a regional administrator for 16 western states. Well, recently Butch is, in fact, this past week was his last week in the office. He's taken the position of Associate Administrator for Infrastructure for Federal Highway, which is really kind of the chief engineer, so to speak, for all Federal Highway Administration, all engineering, contract administration, any of those types of national policies and duties would fall under him. He reports directly to the executive director in that capacity. So he'll be, he's actually physically leaving Utah next Saturday. So that'll be nice to have that connection in DC. And Butch is a...
So he's moving back to the DC office.
I would say that's probably the hardest thing for him.
I was gonna say
I'm sure.
I'm sorry, Butch, I'm glad that you got this promotion, but I'm sorry you had to leave us.
So, yeah, appreciate that,
Well,
Carlos.
when you see him, please tell him congratulations for all of us.
I will.
We had appreciated very much our work with him. It was good to see him recently where we had that dinner here a few months ago and we were able to see him. So please convey to him our best wishes and great friendship, and he's welcome to come out here and spend his tourist dollars anytime.
Thank you.
Well, let's see if we've got any additional commission reports from the commission assignments. Eddie?
Nothing to report.
Wayne?
We met with the advisory council, the result was the home we purchased.
Okay, I'm on the same, anything else?
No report.
The only changes in Washington County is the Ken Sizemore has been changed and replaced by Brian Theriot as a five-county association director.
Okay,
That's the only change, that's as of May 1st.
all right, thank you. Carlos, do you have anything from UDOT?
I think we put everything from UDOT in front of the commissioner.
Okay. I will entertain another motion.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor? We're out of here. Thank you all for being in attendance today. We appreciate you.